Hi, everybody.
Hello, everybody. How's it going?
Didn't think we were going to do another one this year, but here we are.
Yeah, we decided to go ahead. We felt like there's no way that you could live without us for a whole week
Yeah. Right.
or 2 weeks.
Hi, William. Welcome. Long-time listener, first-time viewer. Very nice.
Nice.
Hi, Masha.
Welcome, William.
Where are you, William, in the world?
Yeah. Tell us about yourself.
Report in.
Hello, Michael Kuipers, Masha, and
We have the
Eyal.
UK. We have Israel. We have the
Israel's
Netherlands. Obviously, the US.
Now, Neil, where's Neil? He's in the UK somewhere.
UK,
right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I haul boxes. Who knows where he is? Where are you, by the way? I don't need to know.
Something weird with StreamYard. Everything else checks out, but no audio test from. As you can probably tell, Captain Nick is having some audio issues. He can't hear us.
Settings.
We can't hear him.
We could hear him.
Okay.
Yeah, we did.
When he was doing his hello check.
Madison, Williams in Madison, Wisconsin currently. You hang out there quite a bit, Jeff, Madison?
Yeah, I do. Who's in Madison?
William.
I'm sorry, I wasn't picked. William. Hello, William. Yeah, I have Madison layovers quite
What if Nick's headphones aren't plugged in? What if everything is working fine?
Oh, yeah. That would be
but
too
his
funny.
headphones aren't plugged in.
That's happened before. Just ask this lady up here.
Yes, I know that. I've done that several times. Hey, Tanya. I'm known as having user interface problems, and it's usually a user problem. Just to manage expectations, it's probably not going to be a 3-hour show today because we don't have a lot of feedback, everybody. So come on now. Let's get some feedback in here. Plus, we felt like doing a shorter show.
Yeah. Just to kind of do something before the end of the year.
I think he's on wireless. Isn't he on wireless headphones?
No, those are the no, they're wired.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if he's seeing that.
He's definitely perplexed. I can see a furrowed brow. Hi, Micah.
Yes. Hope this doesn't put him in a foul mood.
A fouler mood?
Fouler. A more foul mood than normal. Okay, what did I hold boxes say about where he is? He has not.
No, he does not. He's
he
flying under the
reveal.
radar. He doesn't want us to know where he is. We might send someone out to find him and deal with him. The APG hit squad.
Did you say Tanya was here?
Yep.
Okay. Hey, Tanya.
Right between I haul boxes and William there.
So, Tanya, are you at work? Because she works like a
There's
regular
Dr.
person.
Mark Anderson, I think.
Dr. Mark Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
In the UK, right?
Correct.
The
cardiologist.
Cardiologist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Tried both earphones, checked audio levels in
level.
Blackmagic and X-Air, all good.
Oh, Tim Van Ram's on the big drive home because he had Southwest flights. So he's driving home from Texas. Yeah.
Well,
I've been following you on feedback there on Facebook, Tim. Last time I saw you were in Coachella, I think. I don't know. Maybe I missed it.
That means he's getting close.
Yeah.
Well, close-ish,
sort of.
I guess.
I think he said he'd be home. He thought he'd be home around 5:00 Pacific today. So
okay, yeah. I was going to say Coachella's probably like a day,
Tanya's at work.
Drive.
I see that.
Tanya's goofing off at work there, watching us.
Make sure you concentrate on all those numbers and stuff.
Oh, excellent! What was it?
What was it?
Fess up.
I'd been listening to something on the speakers in the studio display, so not using these, and. Jilly came to talk to me, so I muted them on the software. Fault. Yeah, it is all Jilly's fault. So I muted them on the keyboard, and when I selected headphones for tonight, so that it routes into the X-Air box, I didn't realize that mute would carry over. I didn't even think about it because there's no symbol for mute on the earphones. There was when I selected back to loudspeakers. Yes, it was. There was a mute line across, but not when I selected earphones. So I
Well, you
had no
fixed
idea of nowhere to tell I'm muted.
Well,
Anyway,
the good
I'm
news
here now.
is, yeah,
We're
we got
glad
it
you're
figured
here.
out. That's awesome. We are glad that you're
Oh,
here.
I just had a bulletin came through. Pele, the iconic footballer, has died at the age of 82.
Oh,
Oh, at least he's not the one that cheated so much. He was just a drug addict, wasn't he?
Yeah, I don't know all those South American guys. I get mixed up. I do get them mixed up. They all sound alike.
We'll never forgive the other one.
Maradona.
Maradona,
Yeah.
Bloody cheat. The hand of God. That's rubbish. He just cheated. Handballed the pulled the football into the net.
I believe it's only cheating if you get caught.
One of the reasons it's one of the reasons Nick is such an avid football fan. Avid.
Exactly. I love the game.
I know. What isn't it that a hooligans game played by gentlemen is rugby, and
That's right.
a gentleman's game played by hooligans is football, I think.
Quite correct. Very good. How are we all? Everything all right?
All good.
yeah.
Excellent.
How are you now that this is all? Did it frustrate you a little bit too much? Are you okay?
No, I'm rarely frustrated nowadays. I just don't care enough.
I like that.
Good
That's kind of my attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you're still at work.
exactly. What do I care?
I just realized while we were working, or you were working through all those problems, I should have set up my recording software, and I did not. So
Okay.
I'll just
That's
have to
fine.
quickly do that. Sorry.
We'll make
I've
this a
done
3-hour show
two
regardless with
complete
all the fiddling
resets.
around.
Yeah.
Well, certainly it fixed. You were freezing and your video was awful, and now it's great. So whatever you were doing, fix that.
Yeah, it was really,
Good.
really bad.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah,
you want a
what
cheery?
she said.
Okay, there you go.
All right, remove track, StreamYard.
Where does Aussie rules football fit in? Did you ever watch?
Well, that's played with a rugby ball, so that's okay.
Yeah, that's
And
acceptable.
my old man used to play Aussie rules, so when I was a kid, he taught me how to run and bounce the ball. Because in Aussie rules football, you're allowed to carry the ball, but you've got to bounce it every 3 or 4 paces. So you can't just run around with it, and you've got to bounce it so that it's a pointy,
Yeah,
like an American
Must be
football. You've
quite
got
a
to bounce it so
technique.
you
Yeah.
can catch it again, which is not easy.
I know. I'm thinking, a round ball. Is much
combination of
like a
basketball and football.
basketball.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you ever watched?
If
you
you
ever
make
watched-
a clean catch, that's a mark. So you can't be then tackled. So
you
you
just
see
breathe.
these amazing pictures of the guys. They're all sort of climbing on each other's back, and the guy at the top of a man-made pyramid is like 12 feet in the air, going for the catch. Because when he lands, if he keeps hold of it, he can then step back and make a kick from that mark.
Have you ever watched? I think it's Irish hurling, where they play with a stick and they bounce.
Not
this
the
little-
one they do in the pub. No.
Yeah, no, not that kind of hurling.
Outside. Out in
But
the
it's
street.
a little ball, and they play it with a stick, and they sort of bounce it on a stick. It's a weird
It
game.
looks the stick they use looks more like a headsman's axe. An old-fashioned one. Yeah.
I'm sure lots of people have been smacked with that stick.
Oh yeah.
Probably not a pleasant
How's the
experience.
other Nick?
He's
Are you okay, Nick?
yeah.
Hello, Nick.
He's
Come
he's
on,
thinking
Joe.
about
I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm fine.
That is not funny.
How to panic us.
Very good. I'm
Nick
impressed. You had to
Camacho's
go
using
there.
Nick Camacho's using a new microphone today, and it sounds fabulous.
Does he now?
Fabulous.
All right. Well done.
You guys
What
got
is
your
using
a
the-
Heil or a?
It's a
Shure.
Shure. And are you using
for
are
sure.
you using the USB interface or the XLR?
XLR.
Excellent.
Oh, good.
Oh,
Because that's
We're
excellent,
impressed. That's old
excellent.
school.
going to provide
Oh,
you
my
the best
goodness.
sound. All right.
We don't have
All right.
any Roger audio to test because we didn't tell him to do one yet.
Oh, we're live at the moment. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah.
Sorry for keeping everyone
no problem.
delayed.
That's okay. Let them see all the warts in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got plenty.
Yeah, me too.
So
Normally
I
my
guess
software takes it out, but not today.
thinking about the fact that we don't have Radio Roger, I should probably think about.
Oh, was
what I'm
that your
gonna
little one
say.
on a gimbal that you did your recording on the other day?
Yeah, this is my new little toy.
That was a great. The video's fantastic. That-
For those
Yeah,
of
if
you
I can get
wondering,
it out
if
of
you're
the
not a
case.
patron of the show, then you would not have seen this video.
Nick
There
did
it
a
is.
crew log out walking his dogs.
Crew log video.
Mhm.
Let's
That's
see.
quite an amazing little thing, eh? So it's really for mounting on a drone, is it? Oh,
Yeah.
look at it.
So there it is.
Wow.
No, is it really? Is it actually really made for putting on a drone, or is just the
Well,
same
the
company that
camera,
makes drones?
it's a DJI camera. So
Right,
yes,
but it's not
in
necessarily
theory.
made
Well, look
for
at it.
drones.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, and then they've just put the gimbal onto a stick here.
Now,
so
how
you
did
can-
Jilly know to buy that for you? Did she get a hint? Did she get a hint or anything?
Oh, she's very clever, isn't
She's
she?
very clever.
All right, let me try going.
That
Well,
is cool.
Yeah, it's really neat.
no. Oh, no,
That's
I haven't
essentially
quite got
what
the
I
load
have.
right.
The camera that I'm using, but it's a different company, but it's the same little camera mounted on a gimbal, but it's not on a stick, so I'm not moving it around.
Wow.
I
Is
got
that
a. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
That's my son.
Yeah, right.
I got a gimbal, like a gimbal handle for my phone to
Mm-hmm.
do video with my phone, and for Christmas, and was a little bummed because the way it's set up, I can't plug in the Lightning to USB to run like the good microphone. So I have to
Oh.
I'll have to like make the decision if I want to have the gimbal and have like good video or and bad
can't have
audio.
both, huh?
Or
There's got to
I
be a way.
can't figure out how to do both. I
That
think
is
I
so
gotta get a
cool,
Bluetooth
Nick.
lav mic.
This is the one I quite like. So when you tilt it, you see it stays looking at you. Here's looking at you.
Here's
kid.
looking at you, kid.
Yeah.
iHaul Boxes is saying, is it a gimbalic? Gimbalic?
Gimbal
Well,
lock.
yeah, the operator's that. I'm gimbalic, that's for sure.
Can it
Is there-
gimbal? In
is
other
there-
words,
is
can
there
you
gimbal
stop
lock?
it from
Yeah,
gimbaling?
can you ungimbal it?
I'm not quite sure.
you lock-
Yeah,
can you lock
well,
it?
sort of. The whole point is that it's a gimbal.
Right.
You've got various types of whether it will just smooth out the action and you can point it where you like, or whether it will lock onto something and track it, or whether it'll do a combination of the two. So
That's an
3
amazing
different
little
gimbling modes.
gizmo.
Yeah.
I love gizmos. All right, we getting close there, gentlemen?
Well,
I haven't even.
I'm just
Captain
trying to
Jeff's
think about
looking-
what I'm going
He's looking
what I'm going to
grumpy.
say for the intro. I just realized that since Radio Roger's not going to be talking. By the way, nobody said anything in the chat room about our levels, so they must be okay.
It's
You
true,
sound a little quiet to me, but that's.
Okay. Well, let me.
I
adjust
sound a
my
bit loud to me.
gain.
Am I okay? I might just have my earphones
Okay.
turned up.
I adjust my gain a little bit,
Earphones.
and I can do that.
Neil Landwarn says,
What?
I had gimbals once. The cream for the doctor worked a treat.
Gimbals. yes.
Are they painful? I hope not.
Is that what you get after having gym class?
Yeah.
Was that Poppy?
No, that was me.
Ah.
Sorry.
Dun, dun, dun. Nobody asked Jeff. Yes, you're a bit lower. Nick C should speak so I can hear him.
He never
Speak.
speaks.
Hey, Micah. How does this sound?
How does that microphone that Nick C is using
My
sound
new
compared to what he was
microphone.
using before?
Sounds good to me.
Hello, testing. Speak some more. Say your ABCs.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
He's a mechanic. Don't ask him to go too far.
Okay,
I go hit about the end.
G is fine. Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out, now that Nick moved his head, I'm trying to figure out if it's just ironic that his clock is at midnight. Oh, nope, it is. It just keeps cycling back.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I can't make my clock just do magic. Yeah, it only does what the video does.
I guess, yeah.
It's supposed to be my
our,
head over that bit. There we go.
our Happy New Year show, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We all going to
what are
sing
we gonna-
Auld Lang Syne? Let's not.
Oh, God,
No.
no. Damn Scottish
So let's
songs,
see.
horrible.
We don't have. We're not going to sing any Coffee Fun songs because we don't.
I
have any
know. Where's our little
contributions to that.
doggy?
Yeah.
In the
we'll
window.
just skip the whole thing.
I know.
Won't even mention the Coffee Fund.
I know. Coffee Fund?
Um,
What's that?
Yeah. So
No,
let's see. We're talking about
I didn't take the old
runway
overlays.
excursion, Southwest meltdown,
Yeah.
and final
Peanut butter.
report on the. Oh yeah, and
More hiding
peanut
things
butter.
in food.
for tips on hiding items in peanut butter.
Mhm.
That and
Hiding
more.
firearms.
Yeah, perfect.
Because it's a well-known fact that if you
Stick in
put
your
something in peanut butter, there's no way that.
But
they're
did you notice
gonna
they actually
find
said, I
it.
think they actually said in the article they specified it was smooth rather than chunky in case the chunks confused them.
What? I
thought
did
it
not
said
read
it-
that.
I thought it said smooth.
Maybe it did. I don't know. I
I
didn't.
thought, huh?
Was it to confuse the sniffer dogs?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Because a lot of dogs are trained to scent gun oil.
Yeah, I think the fentanyl person would have had better luck
Yeah.
jamming it down into the peanut butter can.
I do find though in my peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, a little bit of fentanyl is really
Does the
really
trick?
good.
Perks you right up
Yeah.
or calms you right down. I don't know what this
It is, I feel no pain, so I guess that's what happens. Okay, I'm just going to make something up, and I'm sure it's going to sound terrible, but we can do our intro the old school way, and if it sounds really bad, then I guess I can re-record it after the fact. So let me do a little
Oh.
sound check.
My balls fell off.
not are we all? We're starting again.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
Too loud?
No, sounds
No?
good to me.
Okay.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds fine.
That sounds a little loud to me.
A little bit, but not a lot. A little bit.
Let's see.
Will this episode be published before or after the new year?
Who's asking that
Well,
awful question?
depends on
I
how
haul
good
boxes.
we are.
Well, Jeff's flying 2 legs tomorrow, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just doing an out and back to Asheville tomorrow. It really depends on whether I get called out for a green slip on New Year's Eve. And
You could do a stripped down version again,
I could strip down, yeah.
an unenhanced show.
Yeah, that's true. I could do that. I doubt that it's going to be out before 2023, to be honest.
I feel like I was the one that pushed you into doing this show, so I'm sorry.
No, you're not. I think we need to, as I mentioned to you, that we need to keep consistency. So it's always good to do a show every
What
week.
consistency? Thick?
Well,
Thin?
yeah. So
Crunchy.
thick consistency. Crunchy.
Micah says you need to speak up.
Who's that?
Boy,
You.
I don't
Jeff,
hear
can you
that.
raise
at
your
all.
levels? You're still very low. You
Oh,
sound
okay.
exactly the same to me as
Me too.
All right.
I don't
well,
feel the
but-
difference, but that's just
Well,
maybe me.
I can bump the gain up even more, I guess. I don't want to overdo it though. Okay, that's as high as I'm going to go.
Dave,
yeah. That's fine.
rookie smuggler mistake. The dogs can smell both, no problem. Like those pine things you hang in your car. They don't make mildew smell go away. They just add another smell.
That's true. But don't forget the gun oil has to get through the peanut butter before it can get out.
Mm.
It
Sounds
surely
like you know
acts
something
like
about this.
an odor barrier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So is that better, Micah? There's no change in what I'm being heard with any gain changes you've made here. Well, okay. I can bump up a little bit of the
Bump up
Vader.
the volume. Bump
bump up the volume. I just don't want to overdo it. Let me see. Let me check my recording thing here.
You look
Make
at your
sure that
levels. Check your
the
levels.
work. Well, the levels look good.
He sound great to me.
Somebody just
Well,
sent me
as
a
good as usual.
text.
I wouldn't say that's great.
Well, thanks, Liz.
I don't want you to get a,
You're sounding pretty average, Jeff.
Thank you. Well, I'm quite an average person, actually. Oh, okay. Let's see. Cheryl Goldberg and her the newlywed. I went to her their wedding.
Oh, yeah. I remember
earlier
that.
in the year. They are at the Delta Airlines Flight Museum at the airport.
Oh, cool.
Just sent a photo. So maybe I'm sure they're not listening to the show right now live, but anyway, maybe we'll get together. That's another thing. I might get together with them at some point.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
You mean
Tomorrow
the
or
museum
next
doesn't play all our live shows?
I know.
What's the matter with those guys?
What is that? Yeah.
I know.
Our sister airline and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, there's no love lost.
Well,
there,
they are
apparently.
played at the Acme Museum, but not at the Delta Museum.
Yes, at the Acme
Good point.
Museum, nonstop.
The Acme Museum's slightly smaller. Just slightly smaller.
Yeah. Just slightly.
Just slightly.
Okay, let me quit
Okay.
that.
Everybody got
Okay.
recorders on? Yeah.
Oh,
Orders
good
on.
question.
Go.
Now, we usually wait until you ask us at the very last minute.
Well, I was trying to be proactive.
Yes. Okay.
Dr. Steph is working, and I don't know where Miami Rick is.
She's
I think
working
he's goofing off. Last time I saw him, he had his dog in his lap when he sent that picture. So
Yep.
I don't know. That wasn't on a flight deck anywhere.
Absent without leave.
On his pool deck, I think.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds like we're getting
Well,
close.
we understand that, main man Micah. But again,
Well, now that was loud.
Excuse me.
That was very loud.
anyway, so hopefully people can hear me well enough on the video.
I can.
Okay. Very good. Well, I don't know what I'm going to say yet, but we'll see. Let's go ahead and just start this thing.
Oh.
Here we go.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door. WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 550.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from our side of the cockpit door. I'm Captain Jeff, your host, broadcasting live from Studio 1A at APG headquarters in Roswell, Georgia. Today's show is recorded on the 29th of December, 2022.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Put your light and it's flying by. With the Airline Pilot Guy.
In today's episode, we're going to talk about runway excursions, the Southwest Airlines meltdown, and the final report on the Ethiopian 737 MAX crash. So, get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in their upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. Flight 550 is ready for pushback. Hello and welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, a pilot at a major legacy airline based in Atlanta, Georgia. And joining me today from across the pond, let's see if I hit the right one. Yes.
1,000.
And from his studio.
In Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire.
All right. Hey, shoot. The windows are popping all over the place. Okay, let me try that again. Sorry. I tried to move a window and then it popped out of the main window, and then I have windows all over the place that I can't see through. You don't think that's funny? Okay, I do. Is anybody still hearing? Hello.
Yes. We
this
try
on?
not to laugh
Hello?
at you. We're not laughing at you.
I'm not looking at the window with StreamYard, so I'm thinking maybe I'm not even on the air because
We're
I'm
all
not hearing
here.
anybody
Yeah, no, you're
say
good.
anything.
Wouldn't be the first time.
It's all good.
Hey, shut up. Okay. Here we go. And and joining me today from his studio,
In Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire.
professional photographer, former RAAF fighter pilot, retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways, it's Captain Nick.
Well, hi there, Jeff. Thank you very much for that lovely intro from old Father Time, and I'll be handing over to the new Father Time in just a few days.
Very good. Welcome, and also joining us from his home studio in the air capital, low and slow pilot, old airplane enthusiast, and engineer in the aerospace and defense industry. It's Nick Camacho.
Hey, Jeff. Glad to be able to join you here.
Me too. Can't wait to get caught up with you. And also, from a place to stand, a place to grow. From Ontario, Canada, Toronto, that is, retired financier and aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer, it's Liz Piper.
Hi, everybody.
Good to see you, Liz.
Thanks, Jeff.
Now, go to your little place.
Okay,
Start
goodbye.
talking in my ear.
You guys behave now.
Okay,
No.
we'll try. Okay, let's talk about some aviation news, shall we? Yes.
Stand by for news.
Thank you, Paul Harvey. The first item in our news segment today is from the Aviation Herald. And let's see, it is a rim bun Air de Havilland DHC 6 300 Twin Otter. Yes, rim bun. I'm not making this up. Registration Papa Kilo Oscar Tango Yankee, performing a positioning flight from Timika to Moanamani. Not Topeka, Timika. Moanamani, Indonesia, with 3 crew, landed on Moanamani's runway 3, but veered off the right edge of the runway, contacted the airport perimeter fence with its right-hand wing, and became disabled with the right main gear caught in a ditch. Local police reported the aircraft landed in strong wind. Isn't it always the case? Strong winds, wind shear, crosswinds, all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's apparently many of the causes of these incidents. But
Apparently
when you
so,
look at them a
yes.
bit closer, you do wonder.
Yeah. I'm sure that in some of these incidents, the strong winds did have something to do with it. In this case, the nose tires burst on landing. The aircraft went off the runway and its right main gear went into a ditch. There were no injuries as the right-hand wing got entangled with the airport perimeter fence. Parts of the fence had to be taken down as well to be able to move the aircraft. The aircraft had been chartered to take troops from Moanamani to Timika. And I don't know. I haven't been paying attention. Have you been showing some of those images, Liz? Okay. Yeah, we have 2 there. If you're not watching the video, you can follow along in the show notes. And yeah, so that's all we have there. And we don't have any information. Simon usually puts some of the data from the METARs and that kind of thing, but maybe they don't even have that kind of information for this little airfield in Indonesia. But yeah, it's quite I see the in the picture here, looks like some pretty dark gray clouds in the background. So I could see why they might have some strong gusty winds, perhaps.
Yeah, might well be the case. Who knows? It looks like that engine cowling looks very blackened, doesn't it? I wonder if there was a bit of post-fire there or something.
Yeah, good point. It does a little, although that is the exhaust just forward of that area, so maybe they just haven't been washing the airplane very often, and it's just a buildup of soot. What do you think, Nick Camacho, our mechanic in residence?
Yeah, it looks a little dark to me. I mean, that's a similar style of engine setup and cowling setup as like a King Air would have, and I don't recall seeing it that dark. You see some discoloration, but not like the sooty appearance.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure.
Okay.
One thing I did notice is the picture. The picture of the runway. The runway is not very big.
No.
And then the other thing that I was thinking about is bursting the nose tires on landing. That just seemed a little bit unusual to me because obviously they're oftentimes smaller tires, right? But they also generally see a lot less stress just because they're not touching down at nearly as high of a speed and generally not touching down with as much side load because the mains are, touching first and kind of straightening the airplane out. So I just thought it was kind of interesting that they burst the nose tires. So maybe there's some sort of.
I'm trying to remember. Was it the Tuinata that comes down a fairly nose down attitude anyway in its final approach, and
That's true.
Landing nose wheel first is a definite, something to be aware of in this type.
Yeah, it's too bad Steph isn't here. She could tell us a lot about the Twin Otter since she's checked out in that aircraft. But I would imagine also if you have some strong winds, you're probably carrying a little bit of extra speed, and so you're going faster. That means you're even more probably nose down in this kind of airplane. So you have to be careful about what you're doing when you get close to touchdown.
Yeah.
So, well, a little bit of speculation. Yeah, we'll find out more if they give us an update on the Aviation Herald.
I want that guy's baseball hat. He's got more gold braid in that baseball hat than I've ever seen. Look at that.
That is nice.
Yeah.
Super Captain. That's what I think I should have.
Yeah, and that
Like just
huge
the whole thing covered in gold
armband
braid.
thingy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I should have, 4 stripes. That's all. No, come on. I just
want a big golden armband.
Yeah, I should have a gold hat. Actually, when I think about it,
I think that'd be a good retirement present.
I think so. Okay. Oh no, I hope that doesn't make somebody want to go out and actually make a gold hat for me. Remember, I'm downsizing. Please don't give me anything. Anyway, I'm sure most of you have heard by now that over the last week or so here in the United States, we had those mean Canadians threw down some of their extremely cold air at the United States of America and caused temperatures just to plummet. I mean, just crazy, crazy cold. And we're hearing some popping. What do we got going on, Nick Camacho? Popping from me? I don't hear you.
I can't tell if it's from you or Nick,
Mm-hmm.
but just like a little bit of, I don't know. Last time I said staticky popping, and you said there's different characteristics of static.
Yeah, well, I mean, just whatever the best way for you to describe it. I honestly, I have not heard anything yet.
Okay,
So
I just
maybe
heard
it's
a couple
just
of little ones when you talked,
okay.
but
Well,
I'm not sure.
I'm hoping that it's not a. Oh, Liz just said that she heard it.
Yeah,
So it's
there
probably-
was one there while you were talking there.
Huh. Okay. Let me make sure that I'm on the right. Yeah, I'm on the hotspot. Ah, the old the Ruskies. It's their fault. Okay. It just happened to pass over Canada, and they didn't notice because it's always so dark cold. Flyover fees. Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know what to do about the popping, so we'll just keep on going. Yeah. Let's see. Where was I?
You had just started the second
Oh, yeah.
article. The Canadians sending their
Yeah, the
Air-
Canadians were so apparently I misblamed the Canadians. One of our live audience members, Tom, right, said that the air actually came from the Ruskies, and so I think in an effort to blame the Canadians, they did that. But they didn't say anything though. They didn't fess up. Yeah, false flag. Yeah. Anyway, because of the really, really cold weather here in the U.S., it caused a lot of issues for a lot of the airlines here in our country. And one of them was, yeah, one did excel at the bad issues going on, and that was the airline Southwest. Um, Federal scrutiny is growing. The chief executive is apologizing to customers. And as the meltdown at Southwest Airlines, one of the worst that industry observers have seen in decades, entered yet another day on Wednesday, irate customers remained stranded, separated from their families, and some still carrying Christmas gifts they planned to deliver days ago. In fact, we have somebody in our live chat room as we're recording here on Thursday, December 29, Tim Van Ram. He kind of gave up. He is driving right now as we record the show from, what did he say, Phoenix to Texas. Oh wow, Texas to Northern California. I hope you're enjoying the scenery, Tim. Anywho, there was no relief early Wednesday, which was yesterday. Southwest had canceled more than 2,500 flights, or 62% of its planned flights for the day, according to FlightAware, a flight tracking service. The company has said it could be days until the knots are untangled and normal service resumes. And iHaul Boxes says in our live audience, story has it the trouble originated with a new baggage worker, a former lawyer who kept on losing cases. Did we have to read that, Liz?
Oh, Lord.
I can cut that out in post.
You can tell it's just been Christmas. All these Christmas cracker jokes are coming out.
Yes.
I want everyone who is dealing with the problems we've been facing, whether you haven't been able to get to where you need to go, or you're one of our heroic employees caught up in a massive effort to stabilize the airline, to know is that we're doing everything we can to return to a normal operation. And please also hear that I'm truly sorry. Here's why this giant puzzle is taking us several days to solve. Southwest is the largest carrier in the country, not only because of our value and our values, but because we build our flight schedule around communities, not hubs. So we're the largest airline in 23 of the top 25 travel markets in the U.S. Cities where large numbers of scheduled flights simultaneously froze as record bitter cold brought challenges for all airlines. You know, our network is highly complex, and the operation of the airline counts on all the pieces, especially aircraft and crews, remaining in motion to where they're planned to go. With our large fleet of airplanes and flight crews out of position in dozens of locations, and after days of trying to operate as much of our full schedule across the busy holiday weekend, we reached a decision point to significantly reduce our flying to catch up. We're focused on safely getting all of the pieces back into position to end this rolling struggle. You know, I have nothing but pride and respect for the efforts of the people of Southwest who are showing up in every way. The tools we use to recover from disruption serve us well 99% of the time, but clearly we need to double down on our already existing plans to upgrade systems for these extreme circumstances so that we never again face what's happening right now. I'm apologizing to them daily, and they'll be hearing more about our specific plans to ensure the challenges that they faced the past few days will not be part of our future. I reached out to Secretary Buttigieg earlier today to continue the discussions we've been having with the DOT through the holidays, sharing all the things that we're doing to make things right for our customers. We always take care of our customers, and we will lean in and go above and beyond as they would expect us to. Teams are working on all of that, processing refunds, proactively reaching out and taking care of customers who are dealing with costly detours and reroutes. It's just a few examples. Our plan for the next few days is to fly a reduced schedule and reposition our people and planes, and we're making headway, and we're optimistic to be back on track before next week. We have some real work to do in making this right. For now, I want you to know that we're committed to that.
All right. That was Southwest Airlines CEO. Let's see, what's his name? Jordan, yes. And I'm trying to find the link that Liz just sent to me. She said there's some breaking news. Okay, thank you. Flight, they said that they should be resuming normal flight operations on Friday, which is tomorrow. Now he mentioned he mentioned our transportation secretary, Pete Buttigieg, and that it was an unacceptable situation that would demand a closer look at Southwest's scheduling system. We all understand that you can't control the weather, he said, adding that this has clearly crossed the line from what is an uncontrollable weather situation to something that is the airline's direct responsibility. Senator Maria Cantwell, chair of the Senate Commerce Committee, said in a statement on Tuesday that the committee would be investigating the causes of the meltdown and that the problems at Southwest Airlines over the last several days go beyond weather. Many airlines fail to adequately communicate with consumers during flight cancellations, she said. Customers deserve strong protections, including an updated consumer refund rule. And yeah, Bob Jordan, the CEO, issued the apologies several times, by the way. That was just the video one that we just played. He said, our plan for the next few days is to fly a reduced schedule, reposition our people and planes. We're making headway, and we're optimistic to be back on track before next week. The issues stem from the carrier's unique point-to-point model, in which planes tend to fly from destination to destination without returning to one or two main hubs. Most airlines follow a hub and spoke model, in which planes typically return to a hub airport after flying out to other cities. When bad weather hits, hub and spoke airlines can shut down specific routes and have plans in place to restart operations when the sky is clear. But bad weather can scramble multiple flights and routes in a point-to-point model, leaving Southwest staff out of position to resume normal operations. It leaves passengers like, I don't want to talk about her. People having problems with travel, obviously. All right, Tim Van Ram has a live update. He says, 2 more hours to Oakland Airport, where his car is. Okay, so he's made 90% or more of his trek from Texas back home. So,
what is he walking to get to his car?
No, it's just this country of ours here, Nick, is pretty big.
But how's he getting to his car?
I think he rented a car, I would imagine.
He's using a car to get to his car?
Yes.
Why didn't he take his car in the first place?
I don't know. Why didn't he just fly Southwest Airlines? Oh, never mind. Never mind.
Good luck, Tim.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah, so interestingly, I knew that some airlines were having issues, including my own, but not huge issues. We did have some cancellations and that kind of thing. But when we left Tulsa, Oklahoma on Tuesday morning, the second day of my trip, we had a jump seater from Southwest Airlines, and he said, we were talking about this and that, and he found out that I did a podcast. He goes, well, don't be too hard on us. And I said, well, why? What's going on? At that point, I really didn't know how bad it was going for Southwest Airlines. And he said that he had been in Tulsa for 2 nights, and he was supposed to be home for Christmas. And this was the 27th that we were taking him back to Atlanta. And he said he was going to take a day off to recover, and then he was going to go back out again on the following day, which was yesterday, to try to help out with this whole. Or was it today? Was it? Yeah. Well, no, it was Tuesday, I think, when he was flying with me. Yeah, he's going to take Wednesday off and then go back out. Yeah, you're right. Today. Yeah, good point. Anyway, so and we're going to find out that not only was Tim Van Ram, but probably many of those who are listening to our show right now have been negatively affected by this whole debacle, including, Vernon Tryon in our feedback segment. We'll hear a little bit about how it's affected him. So, I can see how a hub and spoke kind of airline operation would be a little bit more resilient to, bad weather and the situation that we have gone through in the last week, and how an airline structured like Southwest could possibly be much more vulnerable to some negative issues and ramifications. What say you, Captain Nick?
Well, I'm not familiar really with how a point-to-point airline operates because, our outfit was relatively small.
I can explain it to you real fast if you want. They take off from one point, they fly.
Yeah, but
And then
don't
they
all
land at
airplanes do
another
that?
Wow. Aren't we glad that we have Nick Camacho with us to explain the finer
Absolutely.
points and details of these systems?
I'm assuming that some of the points they go to are not necessarily your big international airports. They're little hick outfits in the countryside that may not have.
They might
good-
object to that that kind of term, but okay. Yeah, they're smaller airports.
Their facilities may not be up to coping with bad weather. So, I suspect they've got a lot of their aircraft stranded out, in the Netherlands. Not
I don't think they fly in the
Holland.
Netherlands.
I don't mean Holland. I mean out. I'm trying to think of a non-rude way of saying out in the rural
sticks.
Backwaters of America.
A lot of the places that I fly, actually.
Yeah, that's true. And
So,
like that I fly in and out of.
Yeah, so once you get airplanes stranded, the whole chain of flights they do, I guess, just breaks down. So it must be hard to get them going again. But why only Southwest? I mean, surely everyone was having a few problems. Southwest just had the worst of it. Is that right?
That is correct. I think they said 85% of the cancellations were from Southwest Airlines. So they took an overwhelmingly, more significant brunt of this whole operation. It's just
and
like
the numbers that I was seeing were that like the other three majors were in like the 5 to 15% cancellation per day range, or maybe 5 to 20%. And Southwest was in like the 60 to 70%. So it was a significant step up in the quantity of cancellations.
Yep.
And
Boxes says the poignant to poignant system.
very good. The senator that was saying that the problems, need to be looked at, particularly communicating with consumers. Yeah, it is a problem when you're trying to run a low-cost carrier, and one of the, main features of low cost is that you keep staff employment down to an absolute minimum, just enough to run the airline, really. When you get in a situation where you've got massive breakdown in your traffic flow, you've got passengers in all the wrong places, getting stuck there, you've got baggage lost, etc. That minimum number of employees that keeps the airline ticking over nicely when all the conditions are right, they're completely overstretched, and they just don't have the backup to be able to cope with really severe situations like they found themselves in. So that's when it all breaks down, really. And that's why I think, in the old days, you used to have spare people to help you out who could come to work, and, they were a bit of a drain on your company finances when everything was running fine, because they didn't really have that much to do. But when you had a problem, they could step in and help organize and help communicate. And it seems that Southwest have fallen foul of that, as almost any airline would, quite honestly, because everyone's cut to the bone.
Yeah. And Mike can make a very good point here. And Southwest doesn't go out of their way to correct this misnomer, which is that they're a low-cost carrier. They are not a low-cost carrier. As the CEO mentioned, they're one of the largest airlines operating here in the United States. And if you look at their ticket prices and compare them to other carriers, which is very difficult to do because they're not on the same systems that all the other airlines are on. They keep it all to themselves. And you'll find that in many, many cases, they're not the least expensive option for flying here in the U.S. And not like what we're talking about with like Frontier and Spirit and some of the other carriers, or Allegiant, but Ryanair over there in the UK and that kind of thing. They're a different animal, actually.
I think that is such a common thought, because United and Delta and American all operate the exact same way, right? They have their giant hubs. They have tons of support or regional carrier assistance. It's changed a little bit because they own a lot of them now, right? But
Yeah.
and whether you're flying any of the three of them, you have to pay for a checked bag now, and they have, it's just Southwest between not paying for bags and the way they board. They just do so many things differently.
Right.
That
And in many ways, I'd say better than the majors do. And Micah also made a good point. Thank you, Micah. That their fleet of aircraft are all 737s. It's a common type rating, so all the pilots and all the flight attendants can operate every single airplane in the fleet, which you can't say for most other airlines in the world, actually. So the other thing I was going to say is, the point you were making, Nick, about reducing the number of personnel because to make the cost as low as possible. I was at a Frontier pilot on the jump seat, also on this past trip, who said that they have gone to a complete non-human interface as far as like telephone. You can't, if something happens on Frontier, you cannot call somebody and talk to somebody. Everything is done on your phone or your internet browser. And he said that I'm sure that saves them quite a bit of money, but he said that it's just like, a problem waiting to happen when the airline experiences some sort of meltdown, especially when it comes to
that kind of software is great if you're familiar with it and everything's working fine. But as soon as you get a breakdown and you need someone to step in and do something the software hasn't been programmed to accomplish, that's where it all falls over.
Yep.
I think it's also important to note real quick that a lot of the public consternation about this situation and like why Buttigieg is getting involved and senators are starting to squawk is not just because of the poor customer experience, but a lot of people are upset about the fact that Southwest got a significant bailout or got a significant sum of money that some people call a bailout. And now the general public is wanting them to be held accountable, which I understand, but it seems kind of weird that they're looking for a certain level of service based on something that's not really related to it, in my eyes, I guess.
Yeah, I did, Liz. I'm trying to download the audio as we speak. We're a little bit of behind the scenes here. This is going to be significant for our Getting to Know Us segment. And we have a very late submission in the midst of our recording. Somebody has sent us in. Oh, I am too. Very, very glad. Thank you, Larry. So let me just take a moment. Thank you. Every time I try to download this thing, Apple Music wants to play it. Thankfully, I don't think you heard any of that going on, did you? Okay, good. But I did. And I don't know what you guys were saying.
Okay.
Like, stop talking. Tom Sylvia has an interesting comment regarding Nick's last point. I'm sure they'll be held as accountable as the banks in 2008. Yeah, probably so. Yeah. And you know what? It was another interesting thing. A lot of people I've been talking to, as far as fellow pilot crew members and flight attendant crew members, were saying, "Oh, this is going to be such a black eye. I don't know how they're going to recover from it." And I said, "Are you kidding me? 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, everybody is going to completely forget about this." And I said, at the bottom line, well, maybe not completely forget, but the bottom line is the fact that people are looking at the price of things, right? And the convenience, all those other factors. And that's going to be the bottom line. And I don't think that this is going to negatively impact Southwest in the long run. Maybe in the short term. Most of the people are not going to even be aware that this happened, to be honest with you. But, and that's just the way we are in this modern world of, the way we have a very short memory about things. and that's that's good. And the other thing that's going to help is the fact that the CEO and other upper management people getting out there and apologizing, and they're not going somewhere and hiding in a corner and hoping this will all blow over. They're taking responsibility for it. In fact, the CEO put out a what would you call that, Liz? A statement or a town hall or whatever to his employees, basically saying, I'm accountable for this. I take responsibility for it. And again, that's one of those things that I said, he would not make a very good politician, because they don't do that. They don't take accountability or, blame for anything, and they just can deflect it. It's somebody else's fault. So, so I think that's going to help in the short term. And in the long run, as I said, I don't think this is going to have any effect on them at all. That's just my personal opinion. Should it have? Maybe, but it won't.
Yeah, that's one thing that was kind of, and I'm sure that we're just getting like a small snippet of what all's going on, but there was it seemed like there were a lot of messages and kind of just people's mentality on social media that they are aware that the people at the airport are not the cause of this situation. It seems like so often, when I'm traveling, at least, if something happens, somebody misses a flight or a bag gets lost, you'll see somebody agitated dealing with the agent at the door, and man, they don't have anything to do with it. So I hope that the people that are tied up in this little issue are or have a little bit of compassion for the employees that are dealing with it, who really don't have any impact on that outcome of it.
Well, you know what the answer is to that.
I know, probably
Nick.
not, but.
I mean, you're thinking that people have some kind of common sense regarding who is actually responsible for something,
Yeah.
and they just want to vent their frustration, right? And the employees, they make an easy mark, especially if you're...
God forbid that you might be walking through with a uniform with that airline's logo on, because you're the first person they're going to pick on.
Yeah, and that was what was so interesting to me when the jump seater from Southwest was talking about the meltdown, and he was very defensive, and I couldn't figure out why, but now I understand why, because after that I started realizing and hearing all the news reports. I'm thinking, oh, okay, yeah, this is no good. I mean, at Acme, we've had, major meltdowns, what I consider a major meltdown, but nothing compared to this as far as number of flights canceled and customers affected. Let's see. Richard McKinney says one of the complaints is Southwest Airlines just reinstated their dividend versus investing in a better computer system. Oh, they reinstated their dividend versus investing in a better computer system to help prevent what happened. Well, I don't know that that's true or not. If so, I would imagine that whoever was involved in making that decision to put the money in dividends, which is an important thing. Don't get me wrong. If you're out there an investor, you have to make your stockholders happy, and sometimes it's difficult to decide exactly how to manage that kind of investment, whether you invest in the stockholders or you invest in the actual infrastructure. And it's just a matter of time. If your infrastructure is weak, that something bad's going to happen. It's going to bite you. Yep. Okay. Let's go to C in the news, and this is from the Aviation Herald again. An Ethiopian Airlines Airbus A350-900, registration Echo Tango Alpha Yankee Bravo, performing flight 809 from Addis Ababa to Johannesburg, South Africa, with 68 passengers, 12 crew, touched down hard on Johannesburg's runway 3 right at 12:57 local time, so in the middle of the day. Rejected landing, climbed out about 10 degrees right off the runway heading. The aircraft climbed to 8,000 feet, subsequently positioned for an approach to runway 3 left, and landed without further incident about 20 minutes later. The aircraft was still on the ground in Johannesburg 12 days later. A local source told the Aviation Herald the aircraft suffered a hard landing and a runway excursion and went around. According to ADS-B data transmitted by the aircraft was descending at 500 plus feet per minute at the time of touchdown. That's kind of firm. Touched down about 120 meters or 400 feet past the runway threshold. Changed 12 degrees to the right, climbed through 400 feet above ground level, about 460 meters or 1,500 feet to the right of the runway centerline, overflying the hangars east of the runway. The folks in the hangars are going, woo, what's that? Let's see. So we have some photos of the damage. I trust that Liz has been showing us that. There's the runway scraping of the right wingtip as it quite a ways scraping there. Of course, you're going at a pretty good clip. And speaking of clip, there's the clipped wing. I guess they cut off the damaged portion of the wingtip and covered up the so it wasn't exposed to the elements. But let's see. On December 3rd, 2020, by the way, this happened, I think I mentioned, November 6th of 2021. So last year, a little bit more than a year ago. On December 3rd of last year, South Africans CAA released their preliminary report rating the occurrence an accident. Let's see. Let's fast forward to today, or recent update from, is this the final, Liz? Yeah, final report, December 23rd. I think December 23rd is probably a good time to release a lot of things that you don't want to.
Yeah, that's right. Bad news day.
Let's see. The SACAA released their final report. The probable cause: the pilot applied excessive right rudder input while attempting to line up to the runway centerline, which caused the aircraft to overdrift to the right and experience a significant slip buildup and roll departure on the right. Subsequently, the right wingtip contacted the runway, despite the left side stick input. There was a left crosswind component, which reduced closer to the ground. Early flare initiation caused the aircraft to float over the runway, and thus the aircraft missed the touchdown zone. No evidence of wind shear, even though the pilot stated its presence. Yeah, I thought that was an interesting one. That the QAR reading, what's QAR stand for? I'm not sure. Indicated that the aircraft touched down with the left main landing gear for 1 second at 8.4 degrees left bank angle. The pilot flying stated that at this point, 30 feet above ground, there was a wind shear condition that caused him to have an unstable touchdown and therefore initiated the go-around. According to the QAR recordings, there was no wind shear. During the decrab maneuver at approximately 7 feet above ground level, the pilot applied excessive right rudder input whilst attempting to line up to the runway centerline, which caused a progressive increase of drift angle and a right side slip, and the subsequent roll departure at a maximum roll rate of 13 degrees per second, reaching a maximum of 35 degrees right roll angle. Yeah, that's going to touch the wing in any airplane that I can think of. The transition from air to ground on touchdown allowed more rudder deflection authority as per intended on the ground. As the rudder pedal input was maintained, the left side slip and subsequent induced right roll continued to increase. Anyway, so we're looking at some of the METARs for the incident time, and the winds were variable, anywhere from 280 to 340 or 300 to 360, but it looks like the velocity of the wind was steady at 16 knots, 320, 330, so that's almost a 90-degree left crosswind, left to right, I think. I'm not sure exactly what the heading is on 3 left and 3 right.
About right.
Okay. Yeah, you have experience there, Nick.
I've been in there lots of times, yeah.
So you have not only experience with this airport, but also with the Airbus product and how it works and how control laws work and that sort of thing. So what's your take on this?
Well, I think the quick access recorder, QAR, so it's a kind of an instant access flight data recorder, so it doesn't take an awful. Yeah, it's easy to download data from that, as opposed to the data recorder, which is mounted in the back end. Yeah, the crosswind technique for the Airbus is actually quite simple. You just push off the drift using the rudder, because you've got the aircraft in a crabbed situation, so that you're tracking on the center line of the runway with your nose pointed a bit into wind to compensate for the crosswind. And when it comes time to straighten the airplane for landing, you just push off the drift, apply a little aileron, because the aircraft will be yawing, and the wing that's moving forwards will tend to rise. So you do that just to keep the wings level. And whatever you do, you don't overflare, because if you've got a crosswind, as soon as you straighten the airplane, you'll start to drift off the runway, because now that crosswind is not being countered by your crabbed attitude anymore. It'll have an effect on you, and it will drift you off the runway. So the idea is to not overflare, as this captain did. And you don't apply too much kick either, because you're turning it's only a 22 knot crosswind. It's not a huge amount of drift. I'm guessing 8 degrees of drift. You only need to push off half of it anyway. You're not required to straighten the airplane completely, because in the contact that the wheels will make with the runway and the natural weather cocking, the aircraft will straighten itself to complete that, and everything will be fine and beaut. Just a bit of smoke and Bob's your uncle. So it sounded like a rather ham-handed attempt to kick off the drift, and then because he got a lot of yaw on and held it on for too long, you got a lot of roll. The secondary effect of yaw is roll. Got a lot of roll, which he didn't counter. And then having hit the runway, eventually, seems to be from a floating position. He was floating down. It said he got quite a high rate of descent just to bring the aircraft down onto the runway. Perhaps he started panicking a bit as he started to drift off. That rudder he was holding on suddenly was magnified by the fact that, yes, you get more rudder authority on the ground, because now you need to keep the airplane straight on the runway to prevent it weather cocking into the crosswind and running off the side of the runway, so that you get more rudder available to you. It all sort of came together into a bit of a nightmare for him. If he'd just been a bit more relaxed and a bit more easygoing, and perhaps did it less mechanically, in other words, put his rudder on and then watch for the effect, rather than just slamming his foot forward and hoping for the best. I'm speaking from my imagination as to what happened, but certainly the data seems to suggest it was a bit of a ham-handed or ham-fisted attempt.
I agree. That's what it seems to me, but I'm glad that we have somebody here that has Airbus experience to kind of explain that to us. The other thing I had a question about, Captain Nick, is I guess the original attempt and the incident occurred on 3 right. They came back around and landed on 3 left. Is there any advantage to that? Is it like a longer
it's
runway?
Much closer to your parking spot.
Oh, there it goes.
I'm only joking. 3 right's the short runway. 3 left is the long runway, normally used for takeoff, because, of course, let's remember that this is an airfield that's like 5,500 feet airport elevation. So you need a significantly longer runway than normal for a heavy aircraft to take off. So 3 left is the long runway.
Is that the one that has the crown and the...
that. So if you do have a problem, then landing on 3 left is a lot more relaxed, because it's a much bigger and longer runway. Having said that, 3 right is fine. It's just that the turnoff most people take is about 2/3 of the way down. So you want to get yourself on the ground and slow down for that turnoff. Otherwise, you've got a much longer taxi in. If you go right to the end, you've got to go right round the perimeter of the airport, and it takes a long time. So most of us wanted to get it on the ground and under control, so we could turn off on the big turn off and get to our parking spot quickly. But other than that, they've both got nice ILSs. It's a big airport, both big runways, no significant difference from a touchdown point of view, landing on the right to the left.
All right. Very good. Well, yeah. Yeehaw, not ye. What was that? Yeah. Comment?
I'm just going to mention the effects of the high altitude. Don't forget that up there, the air's just a little bit thinner. So you will be carrying more ground speed when you make your landing in order to keep the airspeed to the correct levels because the air is thinner. So you land going a bit faster over the ground, and the aircraft will have consequently a little bit more inertia. So you need just to consider your the point at which you rotate for the flare. You do it. You take up a little bit of the flare, take up half the slack a little earlier, perhaps just 10 feet earlier than you would otherwise. And perhaps with reading his brief, this guy might have gone, oh yeah, I've got to flare a little earlier because of the airport elevation. So perhaps he just overdid that a little bit. Yeah. But normally you'd add an extra 10 feet to your normal cues for flaring in the two stages, stage 1, stage 2, for touchdown.
So maybe a slight miscalculation on his part.
Yeah.
I've also noticed that in airports that are higher elevation, as you mentioned, the thin air, higher speeds to compensate, etc. But also just the way the aircraft responds as far as roll rates and everything, the way the controls react to your inputs are affected as well. They're a little bit more sluggish. So that's my experience anyway.
Yes, you're quite right, Jeff. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's continue with this. An interesting turbulence injury. This is from Paddle Your Own Canoe. An airline passenger suffered fractured ribs during a freak accident on board a domestic flight in Japan earlier this year, despite wearing a seatbelt when turbulence rocked the airplane shortly before landing. Details of the aircraft on board an Airbus A320 aircraft operated by Star Flyer have recently been released in a progress report into the investigation by Japan's Transportation Safety Board. The aircraft was operating a short flight between Tokyo, Haneda, maybe, to Kitakyushu.
Yeah, January. You're quite right. Haneda.
Okay. Yeah, well, what about the second one?
Oh, yeah, that was a good attempt.
Well, thank you. In January, when it hit turbulence on final approach for the landing, the aircraft was swung from side to side during the incident, causing one of the passengers sitting near the back of the plane to be pushed into the armrest. The passenger told investigators that he immediately felt pain to the right side of his body, but the pain didn't go away. So after several days, he decided to go to the hospital for a checkup. Doctors discovered that the male passenger had suffered fractured ribs as a result of being pushed into the armrest. Japanese accident investigators say that they have already carried out interviews with those involved in the accident and have analyzed the weather forecast on the day that the accident took place. The investigation will now focus on what caused the accident, what could have been done to prevent the passenger from being injured. Despite the freak nature of the accident, the vast majority of injuries sustained by passengers and crew members in turbulence events occur when someone isn't buckled in, as it mentions here further in this article. Recently, 36 passengers were injured when a Hawaiian Airlines flight from Phoenix to Honolulu hit severe turbulence. I believe, we covered that on the last episode.
Yeah.
11 of those injuries were considered serious, and 20 passengers and crew had to be transported to the hospital for further treatment. And most of those in that incident, most of those who were injured were not wearing seatbelts at the time of the accident, despite the seatbelt sign being on at the time. Yeah, well, we know that sometimes it really doesn't matter whether it's on or off. People are likely to not have their seatbelts fastened. Anyway, so it was an interesting one, I guess, and I can see, especially with an Airbus or any type of an airplane that has wing-mounted engines, it seems that sitting back toward the tail of that type of aircraft, the amount of movement from side to side is considerably more than an airplane like I fly with a T-tail, or if you're sitting closer to the wing or even closer to the front of the aircraft. And I could see that if you get some pretty good side-to-side kind of turbulence, that an injury like this could occur.
Yeah, and there's a way to wear your seatbelt, and just buckling it may not be all that you need to do. Those of us that have flown in the military, we know how to strap into an aeroplane. I'm not kidding, because there was not an ounce of give. If you were intending to do something severe in the way of maneuvers, you would strap yourself in with the straps tight. And it's quite possible, I'm not suggesting that this is actually what the situation was, that he had his lap belt quite loose, which would still allow him to move around in his seat to a significant amount. And the fact that he was the only one on the aircraft that appeared to have suffered an injury makes me think there must have been something slightly different about either himself or how he strapped himself in that made a difference.
I believe the same. Yeah. As you said, cinch that darn seatbelt down, don't cut off all the blood flow, but, close.
Yeah, exactly right.
Like a tourniquet.
Otherwise, you're just going to move around inside the loop of material, and it's not going to do a lot of good.
Nope. It'll have the same effect that the armrest had.
Yes.
Let's see. Oh, also from Paddle Your Own Canoe. Let's see. Yeah, you were. I can tell. She said she was looking. Oops. No, I'm not supposed to repeat what you're saying. Sorry, people out there who are annoyed by that. And just a reminder, if you're listening to the audio-only podcast, most of the time, or pretty much all the time, we're doing the show, recording the show live. I'm the only one that can hear what Liz is saying. So that's why at times I'll, mention or repeat what Liz has just told me, because nobody else can hear what she's saying, unless they happen to be listening to the audio-only podcast after the fact. That tends to introduce a lot of latency in our conversation, however, if they wait until, 3 or 4 days later to hear what you're saying. Yeah, that's a huge latency. Anyway, I'm trying to find a sound file here. Okay. All right. Item E, news. A massive 15-meter long emergency slide accidentally deployed on Emirates A380 Super Jumbo at Manchester Airport.
Wow. That's a lot.
Very impressive.
Yes. Oh, we got to hear Liz on the video. It was more than 16 inches for sure. An emergency slide on an Emirates Airbus A380 Super Jumbo was accidentally deployed shortly after it arrived at Manchester Airport on Monday morning. The slide, which is officially known as a slide raft because it can be detached from the aircraft and used as a sea raft in the event of a ditching, appears to have struck a jet bridge that was being positioned at the door where the slide deployed. Manchester Airport has declined to comment on the incident, but thankfully it is believed that no one was injured in the incident. Accidental slide deployments carry a high risk of injury to airport ground workers. Photos shared by Dave Branson on Twitter showed the massive 15-meter-long slide fully deployed with emergency workers looking on. The slide that deployed is known as the U1 left door because it's the first door on the upper deck, and it's positioned on the left-hand side of the aircraft. The upper deck emergency exits are more than 25 feet above the ground. So, to mitigate the risk of passengers freezing in panic from the height, the ramps are curved. And that was something that I learned from reading this article. I thought,
yeah, I didn't know
that. Emergency slides must be able to deploy and inflate in just 6 seconds. But the slides of the A380 are designed to inflate in just 4 seconds. Once the deployment is started, there's no way to stop it. The reason for the accidental deployment at Manchester on Monday isn't yet known, but the most common cause is cabin crew failing to disarm the doors on arrival. Of course, There's a cross-checking procedure to mitigate this risk, but even this doesn't catch every mistake. The A380 also has a special light and alarm to warn crew members that the door is still armed as they go to open the door. But again, this isn't 100% reliable. The aircraft involved in the incident is believed to be a 6-year-old A380, registration Alpha 6 Echo Uniform November. The aircraft operated Flight 21 and arrived in Manchester at 6:45 a.m. The return flight had been canceled, passengers rebooked. There we go.
Now, interestingly, I'm still trying to work out how this happened, because one of the procedures, the guys mentioned on this article, most of the procedures to prevent you from forgetting to disarm a door before you open it on arrival. But one of the other procedures that our airline used with very similar doors was that they were opened by the agent on the outside of the aircraft, because if you open the door from the outside, it shouldn't trigger the slide. And now, if you open the door from the inside and you haven't disarmed it, they will trigger the slide. So I'm just wondering why Emirates had decided that they were going to open the doors from the inside, or whether that was another of the mistakes. So not only did someone forget to disarm the door, they decided to open the door from the inside. And it normally the whole jetway is in position, fully located, and then the agent leaves the controls which they've used to guide the jetway up to the aircraft and position everything, and then they go to the door and knock on it, and the cabin crew on the inside give a thumbs up to indicate that they have disarmed the doors, and then they open the door, and that should be the way it operates, or in this case the slide doesn't operate. It's really because it's an incredibly dangerous thing to be in the way of a slide that is about to come down, because it extends out very quickly with a lot of pressure and a lot of force to get that great big solid lump of hard rubber out into the form of a slide to let everyone slide down it, and you could get severely injured if you were in the way of it.
Yeah, looking at that slide, I mean, wow, that is quite a water slide.
Yeah, it's a double slide as well, so you can go down at two at a time. And we can also detach and form a great big, narrow, long, thin raft, so that you can probably get 30 or 40 people, perhaps more, in that floating around in the ocean. Got something that comes up as a big canopy that gives you protection over your heads if you're floating around in it, all that kind of stuff. So it's quite a sophisticated bit of kit, very expensive, and will be expensive to replace.
Interesting.
Let alone it's probably done some damage to the actual jet bridge. It must have forced the end of the jet bridge up. It's not. It's just underneath the door. It's not actually part of the door. It's sort of below the level of the door. It comes out of a sort of frangible panel there. So it might not have gone into the entrance of the jetway, which is good. Oh, obviously it didn't. You can see it hanging out underneath.
Right.
We had a 747 when one deployed in flight, which is quite interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, flapped around a lot, and I think some bits of it went down an engine. They turned around and came back home.
What's interesting, the way those doors are designed, I guess, on the Airbus fleets, is different. I don't know what the some of the more modern Boeing jets, if they have the same kind of a system where if you open the door from the outside, the slide will not deploy. But on the airplane that I'm flying, everything is, of course, very basic. It's basically it's a DC-9 what I'm flying, and we use something called girt bars on the on that attached to these brackets on the floor. So when the door is armed, they actually physically take the bar that is physically connected to the slide and attach it to these brackets on the floor, so that when the door comes open, regardless of who opens it, whether from the outside or the inside, just the action of the door swinging open pulls the slide from the carrier, and after a certain amount of travel, it inflates. So it can, and in this case, it's the door level. So yeah, it's a bad thing if these things deflate when the jetway is, attached to the front door of the aircraft, and a lot of injuries have occurred when accidental slide expansions or slide inflations have occurred, or deployments have occurred. So,
Interesting.
All right. So Nick Camacho has informed us that he's going to have to go. So we're going to do one more news item. Nick, and did you take a look and see if there was anything that looks kind of interesting to discuss?
Yeah, any of them are fine with me. The Ethiopian accident report is interesting. We could chat about that.
Okay. All right. So this is going to take a little bit longer. So, you've made your choice and now you have to stay. So item F, the Ethiopian Boeing 737, excuse, it's hard for me. I get choked up when I say MAX. Okay. The Ethiopian B-737 MAX near Bishoftu on March 10th, 2019, which impacted terrain after departure on the 26th of December, just a few days ago. Ethiopia's Air Accidents Investigation Branch released their final report, or Air Accidents Investigation Board maybe, released their final report concluding the probable causes of the crash were, and here's the probable cause they came up with: repetitive and uncommanded airplane nose-down inputs from the MCAS, the Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System, due to erroneous AOA, angle of attack, input, and its unrecoverable activation system, which made the airplane dive with the rate of 33,000 feet per minute close to the ground, was the most probable cause of the accident. Contributing factors: the MCAS design relied on a single angle of attack sensor, making it vulnerable to erroneous input from the sensor. During the design process, Boeing failed to consider the potential for uncommanded activation of MCAS, but assumed that pilots would recognize and address it through normal use of the control column, manual electric trim, and the existing runaway stabilizer non-normal procedure. The OMB and Emergency Airworthiness Directive issued after the Lion Air accident several months before included additional guidance, but did not have the intended effect of preventing another MCAS-related accident. While Boeing considered the possibility of uncommanded MCAS activation as part of its FHA, I'm not sure what that stands for, it did not evaluate all the potential alerts and indications that could accompany a failure leading to an uncommanded MCAS activation. The MCAS contribution to cumulative AOA effects was not assessed. The combined effects of alerts and indications that impacted pilots' recognition and procedure prioritization were not evaluated by the manufacturer. Absence of AOA disagree warning flag on the flight display panels. The Boeing 737 MAX Crew Difference CBT, that's computer-based training, prepared by Boeing and delivered to pilots, did not cover the MCAS system. Yeah, that was a major thing that they shouldn't have done, or they should have explained the MCAS system to operators. Anyway, so those are the ones that I thought were I kind of highlighted. But we need to also consider the NTSB response. And this is from aerotime.aero, AERO. The NTSB, the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, has criticized the Ethiopian Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau for omitting its final comments in the recently published final report of the fatal Ethiopian Airlines Boeing 737 crash. So this, I guess they didn't take all the steps that were necessary when working with international organizations and preparing these kind of reports, because they're important, because we learn things from these crashes, and we want to make sure that everybody, does the right thing and is aware of potential risks and such. And the National Transportation Safety Board, I think, a little bit bent out of shape because of this. And their criticism is as follows. The NTSB agreed that the MCAS was part of the cause of the crash, yet they believed that the probable cause also needs to acknowledge that appropriate crew management of the event, per the procedures that did exist at the time, would have allowed the crew to recover the airplane, even when faced with the uncommanded nose-down inputs. As such, the probable cause of the accident would include MCAS inputs due to erroneous AOA data, as well as the flight crew's inadequate use of manual electric trim and management of thrust to maintain aircraft control or airplane control. Now, this is just aside from me. That's one of the glaring problems in this accident sequence, in my mind, is that once they set the power for takeoff, so you have takeoff thrust there, the throttles were never retarded. This is all the way the 2 or 3 minute long flight. I'm not sure how long exactly, but when that thing hit the ground at 33,000 feet per minute, those throttles were still in takeoff power. And while they were trying to address the trim runaway or the MCAS activation, and the overspeed warnings were going, and that was one of the issues they said was a problem here, because there were so many things that the aircrew was having to deal with, and sounds and warnings and everything else going off, that their brains didn't, I guess, recognize the fact that this airplane was going extremely fast. And in fact, that created a situation where the manual trimming system on the airplane was ineffective, because there was no way they could overcome the aerodynamic forces on the stabilizer, because of the fact that the power was up the whole time. And I forgot exactly how fast the speed got on the airplane, but it was way over what it was designed to do. Anyway, so that was my little aside there. Furthermore, this is back in the article. Furthermore, while the Ethiopian Accident Investigation Bureau published 10 contributing factors, the NTSB wants to add 2 additional factors. First, Ethiopian Airlines' failure to include procedural information on how to respond to uncommanded nose-down movements, which were outlined by Boeing's Flight Crew Operating Manual and the FAA's Airworthiness Directive, both of which were published 4 months prior to the crash. Secondly, the Boeing 737 MAX impacted a foreign object that damaged the angle of attack sensor, resulting in several erroneous activations of MCAS. I guess they mean prior to this accident. Ethiopian investigators found that the new airplane experienced unexplained electrical and electronic faults within weeks of entering service and in the weeks and days prior to their accidents. So again, the NTSB is saying, yeah, because this thing, the AOA sensor was damaged, and they didn't even mention it in their report. The U.S. investigators pointed out that while the AIB was right that erroneous AOA data was provided to the aircraft systems due to the sensor's failures, they did not provide the root cause of it, damage from impact with a foreign object or bird. As such, the report misses the opportunity to address improvements for wildlife management at the flight's departure location in the Bole International Airport in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. The AIB did consult with Collins Aerospace, a manufacturer of the sensor. However, the NTSB pointed out that the report does not acknowledge Collins' fault tree analysis, which demonstrated that the recorded flight data from the accident were not consistent with any internal failure of the AOA sensor. Instead, those data were fully consistent with previous instances of partial AOA vane separation due to a bird strike. And the NTSB's response to the final report added that while the Ethiopian investigators questioned the functionality of the manual electric trim system, it did not present facts to support these findings. Boeing's later assessment found that no trim system failure scenarios were consistent with the FDR data, and that the behavior of the electric manual trim parameter recorded on the FDR was consistent with flight crew input. So I guess they're saying that the Ethiopian AIB was trying to say that, well, the reason why the electric trim didn't work is because, I mean, it wasn't a fault of the crew, it was because it wasn't operating properly or correctly. And they're saying here that there's no evidence of that. Also in its report, the AIB questioned whether the indicated airspeed disagree and altitude disagree alerts appeared on the primary flight displays. The NTSB deemed it is an incorrect assumption, as the conditions were met for the IAS disagree and ALT disagree messages to be enunciated to the crew members. Their lack of conversation or action in response to the enunciations should be explored in the context of the flight deck environment, workload, crew experience, and training. The NTSB also argued that the assumption that the MCAS made the aircraft uncontrollable is incorrect. The U.S. investigators reasoned that if the crew had manually reduced thrust, what I mentioned earlier, and appropriately used the manual electric trim, the airplane would have remained controllable despite uncommanded MCAS input, adding that the crew did not perform the described non-normal procedures following the unreliable speed, stall warning, runaway stabilizer, and overspeed warning alerts. The report failed to provide the full transcript of the cockpit voice recorder data. The NTSB also considered that the Ethiopian investigators inappropriately added analytical commentary and altered the transcript without consulting the rest of the investigation team. The current presentation of the CVR transcript prevents the reader from having a complete and objective understanding of the event, concluded the NTSB. Sorry, I know it took a while. And those were just little excerpts of the Ethiopian AIB final report and the NTSB's objections to many of the items that the AIB put out. All right, so now I'm going to stop talking and let my fellow co-hosts add their commentary.
Well, I have a little bit of let's see. It's hard for me to differentiate just how poorly the initial design and certification of that airplane and training of that airplane was handled, and then the NTSB basically coming out in this report, or not in this report, in their comments to this report, right, and saying the pilot should have done this and the pilot should have done that, and I agree with you that the airplane could have been controlled if they had taken certain actions, right? The throttle management was obviously poorly managed, but man, it just seems like the NTSB coming out and saying, you said the airplane was not controllable. It actually was controllable. And why aren't you looking at the birds? Just, it seems weird to me. And I don't know why. I don't know if they have a concern to kind of ensure that they are continue to be viewed in a good light, or what. But I just,
that would be unusual for the NTSB, because usually
right.
the NTSB and the FAA are like at odds, and
right.
And I think the NTSB has made it clear through all these crashes and activations of MCAS and implementation and the certification and all of that, and I don't want anybody to take the wrong message away from what we're trying to say here. The Boeing definitely, I mean, that system, and we've talked about it a lot, the way they designed it, the changes that were made that they didn't tell the FAA about, and perhaps the FAA knowing that it wasn't exactly the way that was originally presented, but they went ahead and allowed it to be certified like that. There were so many things that were wrong, and that was obviously the catalyst that initiated this whole accident sequence. So we're not saying that Boeing isn't at fault or the FAA isn't at fault. No, we're not saying that at all. They were, a big part of why this happened to begin with. But as I've been saying all the way from the beginning, if I'm in the airplane and I know nothing about any of this, and the airplane is trimming and I didn't do anything to cause it to do what it was doing, I would take action to stop it from trying to kill me. And I know you've heard me say that so many times. And so I think that the NTSB, you could agree or disagree, are trying to say that maybe the Ethiopian Air Accident Investigation or Aviation Investigation Bureau, whatever it is, AIB, is like omitting some things to not make it look so bad for their Ethiopian pilots. Perhaps. Right. I don't know.
And I agree with that. I just, it's hard for me to like figure out where the threshold is. Right. So, I agree with you that in this instance, it probably should have been, handled differently. I mean, one thing that bothers me is that so many people were like, oh, it's just a training issue. An American crew would have managed that better. And I don't even know if I disagree with that. And I just think it's a different, I think a lot of the Western pilots, I just think it's such a different approach to training pilots, right? Where you have a lot of the countries that don't have vibrant GA communities, I guess, or I don't know. I don't even know how to explain that. But like in the United States, you have such a broad, expansive experience by the time you're a captain at an airline, whether it's flying GA for 300 or 400 hours and then becoming a CFI and then flying for the regionals, or whether it's going into the military and doing all this stuff. Whereas a lot of the countries that don't have a GA system in place do the ab initio training and like focus so much on getting pilots into the airline seat that it just seems like they might miss out on some of those opportunities to have that like outside of the box troubleshooting thinking. But then on the other hand, and Micah made a few comments also about like the NTSB is saying that this is a recoverable and controllable event also, which I get, but like, at what point is the threshold, right? Like the United, the Al Haynes flight, right? Like that was a scenario where the airplane could have rolled over and slammed into the ground, and they were able to control that airplane back to the ground. But I don't think that if that airplane would have rolled over and hit the ground, anybody would have said, well, there was a scenario where that airplane could have been controllable. So I guess that's what I struggle with a little bit.
Well, and I think that, they're looking at this incident as the second incident of MCAS causing or being the catalyst for a series of events that resulted in the loss of many, many lives. And I don't think that they would come out with the same attitude regarding the Lion Air incident because there was nobody knew anything about this except Boeing and the FAA, right? And not everybody at those two organizations knew what was being set up. But I think I just wanted to make one point about what you just said, and I know it's easy for those of us, especially Western pilots or Western trained pilots, to say, well, it was because they were Ethiopian citizens or Indonesian pilots. But I think, and something I read here, that damaged AOA sensor caused several MCAS activations before this, in this airplane itself, this actual airplane, before the crash. And so clearly, if it had happened several times before this crash, there were Ethiopian pilots, Ethiopian Airlines crews who reacted properly and kept the airplane from crashing. So I guess it's easy to take that broad brush stroke and say, well,
yeah, I agree, but I also think we just like, we'd have to understand that data set, right? Like if you said 5 pilots, and I'm not attacking you, but I'm just saying, with anything, right? Like if you have an engine failure, right? You could say like, well, 5 pilots had an engine failure on a multi-engine airplane, and 4 of the crews were able to manage the incident and land the airplane safely, and 1 of the crews didn't. That if you say that kind of has a different viewpoint. If you were to find out that like 4 crews lost an engine in cruise at 30,000 feet, and 1 guy lost an engine at 100 feet off the ground, right? So I don't necessarily think that Ethiopian, if there was a uncommanded MCAS situation with an Ethiopian crew, I think that there's a lot to it, but also it's like a one-off thing, right? Like it only takes one really great pilot to be able to salvage a situation that seems unsalvageable, but at the same time, right? It only takes one poor pilot or less competent pilot to mismanage a scenario. And so it's kind of a bummer that, there's however many pilots there are in Ethiopia, and whether this guy's like a median level pilot or whether this guy was like at the bottom of the barrel. There were just a lot of people saying like, oh, this only happened because it was an Ethiopian crew.
Yeah. Well, that would be an inappropriate thing to say, in my opinion. Now, Captain Nick, you've been very quiet about all of this, and I'm sure you have something to say.
Well, not really. You guys have actually voiced more or less everything I would have said. It seems to me that the NTSB felt it appropriate to include 2 causal effects into the report that the Ethiopians put out. And I understand why they would want to do that, because I see little doubt that the Ethiopian report colors the report in favor of their crew and lays ultimately everything at the door of Boeing and this American aircraft. So I can understand why they would want to level the scales a little bit, and I happen to agree with them, because I think that if you're not prepared to issue the full CVR script, which would allow everyone to hear what the crew was saying, you would then be able to properly analyze what was going on the flight deck and work out what crew resource management events were taking place, how the crew operated, whether they were capable and doing the right things at the right time to attempt to save the aircraft. And I think when you're not willing to release the full CVR, you've got to ask yourself why not. That is, I don't like that.
That's suspicious.
Ethiopian, just like every country, should be completely open about what has occurred. So I don't like that. On the other hand, I think other than the fact that the NTSB believed that appropriate crew management would have allowed the crew to recover the aircraft. Yes, I believe that would have been true, since a previous crew, when it occurred on a previous flight, if I'm not mistaken, or am I thinking about the Lion Air one, had a similar event and they recovered it. Certainly in the Lion Air situation, I believe
the Lion
that
Air
was
for
the
sure.
case.
Yeah.
So the fault had occurred on previous aircraft with previous crew, and they had fixed it. But I do take Nick's point on board very well. Not every crew is equally capable. Not every crew handles the startle effect relatively early on in the flight of this very strange maneuvers that the aircraft is doing, and not every crew would be able to identify the root cause. It's the trimming system, and they might take inappropriate actions, including forgetting to move the down throttles. So I do see that, and I think that should have been included. But we're talking here now about a pecking order of causes that leads to a crash. How high up that pecking order these 2 events that NTSB thinks should have be included would come, they haven't said. Is it going to be the primary cause? No, I don't think so. Is it secondary, tertiary, somewhere down in the middle? I don't know either, because, we haven't got the NTSB version of the actual report to see where they would have placed it. All we've got is saying these should have been included. I also go, if a bird strike had caused the sensor malfunction and it hadn't been correctly analysed by the engineers and fixed appropriately, which led to the failure occurring when it did, that is also a problem. But now we're talking about bird control over an airport. Yeah, all right. In an American report, the NTSB would have included that, but that would have been way down near the bottom. It wouldn't have been an important factor. But I think what is an important factor is something that's almost glossed over, is that MCAS operated from a single AOA probe.
Bad design.
And that's just bad design. But that goes back to the fact that we're talking about a 737 where all the basic systems have basically remained unchanged, and they've just tweaked them all the way along. So right from word go, that sensor would have been only one of two, and it independently would have operated lots of things. But now they've introduced that one sensor into a system which had a significant effect on the controllability of the aircraft if it went wrong. And they go, well, no one has really mentioned that, but Boeing should not be still producing brand new airplanes where such an important part of the flight control system is based on a single sensor. I can understand the NTSB wanting to level the balances. And I fully acknowledge that they should be allowed to do that. I dislike the Ethiopian attempts to brush over some areas where they should have provided information, and they perhaps put the emphasis poorly because they don't want their country to be smeared. They're quite happy for America to be smeared, but they don't want their country to be smeared, when in fact there is a shared blame for this. Where the balance is really for the report to reveal, but because they've missed bits out, they haven't been able to do that.
Yeah. And I will, Masha says, Swiss cheese? Funyuns. Yeah.
Yes, we all like Funyuns.
Let's get on the right page here. And Micah makes a very good point, and something that I did not mention. There was a lot of information in that final report, and I didn't mention it, but the NTSB said that the updates from Boeing were available about the MCAS and the previous crash with the Lion Air, but the Ethiopian Airlines did not distribute them or inform their pilots of the updates. So
I think the time period was they were available for 4 months. Quite honestly, in the life of an airline and the length of time it takes to get these things through to the flight deck, that is not actually a very long time. These things can often take considerably longer than that, even in a well-run airline. But I take your point, Micah. 4 months is not a very long time.
For some reason, I was thinking that the second crash, Boeing had distributed some sort of documentation saying, this is how to handle it. And I thought that the second crew had utilized the procedure or whatever they had told them to do, and the fault was that they let the airplane get too fast, and because of that, the trim system was overridden by aerodynamic forces.
Yep.
So
that's my takeaway from it as well. Yeah.
Okay. I need to go back to basic design capability of an airplane. A trim system, manual trim system that can't be used by the crew when you get to high speed has been well known in the 737 for decades, more or less since the damn thing came out. How they haven't fixed that yet, I don't understand. How can you let an airplane carry on for that length of time and you're still producing brand new ones, and you haven't overcome this problem of being unable to manually trim the airplane when your airspeed gets too high? People know there's a workaround. You unload, you go to 0G, but if you're very close to the ground, that's not going to be a very easy thing to attempt. So I'm going, Well, that's a design thing that Boeing should really have picked up much earlier on and fixed it.
I agree. Not only that, I've heard from people that fly the airplane and know something about the 737 MAX is that I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard that the manual trimming wheel has decreased in size over time as well with the subsequent generations of the airplane, and due to the design of the avionics and instrumentation, etc., in the center console. So again, I don't know if that's true or not, but that would even make it worse. That a system that needs to work when the electrical trim system is not, and then you reduce the diameter of the manual manual action. I can't. They reduce the arm, like in physics.
Yeah.
The shorter the arm, the less power you have to use to counteract or move the stabilizer, et cetera. So again, I don't know if that's true or not, but that certainly didn't help. And you're right. Go ahead, Nick.
No, but finish your thought. I was going to make one more.
No, I was going to. That's it.
Well, I was just going to say, I think at the end of the day, one of the things about pilot error is that pilots are human, and it is just not possible to get rid of pilot error. And so when you look at like all the things that happened in this flight, I am not saying that pilot error was not involved, but when you look at like the mismanagement of the certification process and the mismanagement of the design process, and then the fact that you have two humans who did not do the right thing in a incredibly scary emergency situation, it just feels like two of those things are much easier to solve.
It's like not fair to get down on them for it because I can see it. And especially somebody like you, Nick, who was intimately involved in, engineering design and certification processes. I'm sure that's something that's, very important to you. And many of us will just kind of, gloss over.
Not only that, but I make mistakes in the cockpit all the time. So I know all about pilot error.
It's only the magnitude of them that makes the difference.
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely correct. Okay.
Do you think this will be the last time we have to talk about this?
I'm hoping so. I really am. Yeah, you're right, Nick. But it was the final report, and it was the final
it's worth mentioning. And
hopefully
I think
they won't crash anymore.
and I think the slight dispute between the two countries is fascinating. And I think the NTSB are correct to try and make sure that everything that they think is important is covered. Ethiopia, I think, are not doing themselves any favors in the eyes of the international community by appearing to cover up some areas that might otherwise be revealed.
I agree. All right. Well, Nick, thank you for taking out some of your precious time to join us today. I know you're very busy. Just a little bit of getting to know us before you leave. Let us know what's been going on. Did you have a nice Christmas?
I don't think I've been on the show since I was on in Dayton. Unfortunately, in a couple of days, I'm heading back to Dayton, so I don't know if I'll be able to make the show next week. If we have a show, we'll see. But yeah, had a pretty good Christmas. The weather that was affecting everybody in the country had a little bit of effect on us here in Kansas. My sister, who lives in Texas, ended up pushing her trip up off a week, so we weren't able to get everyone all together at the same time, but I was able to see my siblings at different points and got to spend a lot of time with my folks, and got to actually I don't think I've even touched on this, but my dad bought a boat, a little sailboat.
Nice.
Here towards the end of the year, and so got to open that up and let all of my little nieces and nephews go through it and get excited about coming out and going out on his sailboat in the summer when it warms up a little bit. So now, in addition to having to compete with all of the family stuff to get his time to help me work on my airplane, now I'll have to compete with his boat to try to get time to work on airplanes. But yeah, it was It was good. It was a good holiday.
And yeah, what's happening tomorrow, Nick? Anything significant?
Well, I'm hoping if I can get everything wrapped up, the plan is to go test for my power plant rating tomorrow, and that would get me finished up with all of
the third leg of the stool, right?
Yep. And I'm admittedly the most nervous about this one because I am the least well versed. I'm the least versed or least well versed, however that would be. I know the least about turbine engines. So, there was a few things in the airframe that I wasn't super comfortable with, but when it comes to power plant, I do feel like there's a significant portion that I don't have just a really good grasp on. So
if you don't get your power plant exam passed, you can still work on gliders, yeah?
Mm-hmm. And I can still work on airplanes.
Powered aircraft too.
Can't
touch the
work
engine.
on the airplane.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad
so
to hear
we'll
that.
see how that goes. And I think it's just like any I think it's just like most other exams where if I get tripped up on something or if I don't pass a section, I just have to get retrained and retested on that section. I don't think I have to take the whole test again. So
okay. Well, what is it that Rick would tell you about the jet engine, or maybe Captain Nick will kind of give you the best information
I learned it
possible.
from Dana. That was suck, squeeze, bang, blow. Isn't that it?
That's exactly right.
There we
Yep.
go.
That's all you have to say
Yep.
when they talk about jet engines. Yeah.
Yep.
Suck, squeeze, bang, blow. All right. Well, good luck with the
And
examination tomorrow if it happens.
The bang and the blow bits are always the best.
That's what I've been told.
Yeah.
All right. Again, thank you. I know you're very busy. Thank you for joining us today, Nick, and the audience appreciates your presence and points of view as well. So,
Yep.
really
Thanks.
means a
It was
lot.
good being with you guys. Look
Well
forward to
done,
doing it
Nick.
again.
Good luck.
All right.
All right.
See you.
Bye-bye. All right. Let's get back over here to Evernote. Anything else I think we pretty much said about as much as we can about that.
Yeah, I think if you go back
report.
over the previous discussions we had, we've repeated a lot of the points we've made over the years. So, and I think, it's a discussion has been had by many people, and there are an awful lot of people out there whose opinions won't be changed by what we have to say. But on the other hand, it's interesting to see what an august body like the NTSB thinks. So it's interesting.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And this next item in the news, again from Paddle Your Own Canoe, flight attendant pleads guilty to trying to smuggle fentanyl strapped to her abdomen through TSA checkpoint.
I have very little patience for stupidity.
Let's see. She pleaded guilty to a single charge of attempting to smuggle the fentanyl strapped to her abdomen at San Diego International Airport with the intent to distribute the highly addictive and powerful drug. Teresa Lee White from Texas was arrested in October after she was stopped for a random search while she tried to get through a special expedited security screening lane for pilots and flight attendants. And then we call that here known crew member, KCS. No, KCM. I'm sorry. Get my letters right. The ex-Mesa Airlines flight attendant who operated regional flights on behalf of American Airlines and United was pulled to one side as she attempted to use the known crew member lane at the airport and directed to walk through a standard metal detector. And that's always something we call those random, just randoms examinations. And they've been increasing in recent time, most likely because of incidents such as this. And anyway, after setting off the metal detector, she was subjected to a pat-down search in a private room where a package that had been strapped to her abdomen was discovered. White initially told law enforcement that the package was a mercury weight loss device. Never heard of a mercury weight loss device. Yeah. I'm just wondering myself, so fentanyl is like, that it's a drug and it like in pill form or very powerful, but I'm thinking what what set off the metal detector? I mean, metal.
Well,
usually
that was
sets
going
off.
through my mind. I'm assuming if it's pills, it'll be in a foil pack. Perhaps it was the foil. I don't know.
Okay, could be. Yeah, that could
but,
be.
Yeah, I don't know. Perhaps next time she'll take the pills out and put them in something non-magnetic.
Well, I don't think there's going to be a next time, Nick, but maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. A K9 unit was called in and alerted to the package. A drug field test indicated that the substance was fentanyl. On Thursday, she entered a plea agreement in which she pleaded guilty to a felony crime of possessing fentanyl with intent to distribute. I don't know. It doesn't really tell us. Does it say anything what the plea deal was?
No, it doesn't say what the sentence was, but she carrying 3 1/3 pounds of the. That's an awful lot of damn pills.
It is. That's probably enough to kill tens of thousands of people.
Yes.
Let's see. She arrived in San Diego on a flight from Dallas Fort Worth on October 4, where she exited the airport before returning later the same day. Despite being off duty, she was allowed to use the known crew member lane. We are allowed to do that to bypass normal security checks, but she was randomly selected for an enhanced check. She says she deliberately attempted to use the known crew member lane to facilitate her crime. She's due to be sentenced on March 24, 2023.
We'll find out then.
I guess she faces a maximum sentence of 20 years imprisonment plus a $1 million fine.
Wow. Golly.
Yeah.
Well, for someone like her, that's pretty steep. But on the other hand, if you're a real drug lord, $1 million would be peanuts, wouldn't it?
Pocket change.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. 20 years might worry you a bit, but anyway,
right.
I'm sure that'll be brought down to a more acceptable level for perhaps a first offender. I don't know.
Possibly, yeah. Depends on whether they want to make an example out of her.
Yeah, exactly right. And the fact that she's using a system that so many flight crew rely on to get through the airport promptly. If people start abusing that system, it's just going to disappear. That would be awful.
Funny you should mention that. I mean, not after this necessarily, but the TSA now is taking over the complete control of the known crew member program. And some people are worried that they're just going to scrap the whole system altogether.
Yeah, that would be very sad because there are so many trustworthy and noble people in the airline industry. It would be a shame to see it spoiled by a few bad apples.
Thanks, Liz. All right. She said something very, very positive and pleasant about me. No. Okay.
What, she'd trust you?
No, she doesn't. Apparently she doesn't.
Would you trust him with your pension, Liz?
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Okay. Next one again from Paddle Your Own Canoe. And sticking with security, a man finds himself in a sticky situation after TSA busts him for trying to conceal a gun and bullets in jars of peanut butter. A Rhode Island man has been arrested after the TSA discovered that he tried to sneak a semi-automatic handgun and a clip of bullets through security by dunking the various parts in 2 jars of Jif peanut butter, which I love Jif peanut butter. Just to Liz,
I just like peanut butter.
You're a Skippy, huh? I don't know. I like Jif better. The incident occurred on Thursday.
Sunpat.
Oh, is that a popular brand there in England?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to have the old crunchy, chunky, smooth argument.
I'm a crunchy man myself.
Are you? I tend to, I don't know. I tend to side with the smooth. Anyway, the incident occurred on Thursday when, I know I'm outnumbered here, when TSA officers were carrying out a routine X-ray screening on checked passenger luggage at John F. Kennedy International Airport. The passenger was passing through JFK Terminal 8, which is used by American Airlines and British Airways, as well as a slew of other international airlines, including Finnair, Cathay Pacific, China Southern, and Ethiopian Airlines. Given the fact that passengers on domestic flights are generally allowed to check guns into the hold luggage, as long as certain conditions are met, This incident poses the question as to whether the man was attempting to smuggle the firearm into a foreign country where gun ownership is much more controlled. Yeah, because he really didn't need to dunk the thing in peanut butter if it was in checked luggage, which it was, and he was flying domestically.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the gun parts were artfully concealed in two smooth, creamy jars of peanut butter.
There you see, creamy peanut butter lovers.
Okay,
They're all villains.
Well, apparently so. I bet that lady with the fentanyl, she was probably eating some of that.
Yeah, she was probably
too.
a smooth peanut butter lady.
Okay, I'm guilty. Anyway, I love this. The gun parts were artfully concealed in two smooth, creamy jars of peanut butter, but there was certainly nothing smooth about the way the man went about trying to smuggle his gun. This is from John Essig, the TSA's Federal Security Director for John F.
I mean,
Kennedy
it was
Airport.
only a 2.2 as well. I mean, that's supposed to be the caliber of choice for assassins, isn't it?
I believe so. Yeah,
caliber.
they're small and light.
Yeah.
Oh,
in a jiffy.
oh my gosh. IHOL boxes. IHOL boxes said they found it in a jiffy. Literally.
Oh, dear.
Gosh. If you enjoy really corny bad jokes, then this is the place for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so.
Hang on a minute. Arnie has asked me if I like Marmite. Since we're on the subject of spreads, yes, I do. Thank you very much. I do like Marmite.
I don't find it offensive either. Smooth or chunky Marmite.
If you get chunky Marmite, there's something wrong with it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Maybe I should look at the expiration date.
Yeah.
The next item and last in our news today, and the show is going to be mostly news today, is this, a really nice little story from, again, Paddle Your Own Canoe. Abandoned by a passenger at San Francisco Airport, Polaris, the puppy, finds a forever home after United Airlines captain adopts him. A puppy who was abandoned by a passenger at SFO Airport found a new forever home earlier this month after a United Airlines captain worked with the San Francisco Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals to adopt the dog. The puppy, who has been appropriately named Polaris after United's flagship business class cabin, arrived in the United States from an international destination earlier this year, but its previous owner abandoned Polaris shortly after their arrival in the country. United Airlines, however, came to the rescue and started looking after Polaris as if it was one of their own. The airline had to complete all the necessary paperwork to ensure Polaris was legally allowed to enter the United States and looked after the puppy as he went through a quarantine period. During this time, Captain William Dale and his family decided they could give Polaris the home he deserved. United's customer service team took on quite a challenge to ensure Polaris would be safe, healthy, and find a loving home, explained.
He looks a gorgeous dog.
Yeah, very, very, very cute. Let's see. The SCPA was honored to have received the call for help from United Airlines to help facilitate the adoption. As a mark of gratitude, the airline has donated $5,000 to the charity. It's a great feeling to see this story come full circle and that Polaris will have a loving home with United Airlines Captain Dale and his family just in time for the holidays, commented United's Director of Customer Service, Vincent Passafiumi. The donation was formally handed over during a celebratory. Is that, they missed an R in there, I think. A celebratory adoption party, which was held at SFO on December 15. All right. Very good. That's a happy ending, and good old Polaris, as you said, quite a handsome young man.
Yep.
Well, dog. Actually.
And well done to the skipper for taking him on board. That's really nice.
Yeah. That's awesome. All righty. It is now time to get to know us. Getting to like us, getting to hope you like us too. All right. This was sent to me. I'm going to go ahead and jump right in, if you don't mind, Captain.
Absolutely. No, please do.
One of our APG community members wrote to me and said, "Hi, Jeff and APG crew. My brother Ray is a long-standing member of the APG community. In fact, I have to blame him for giving me the APG syndrome." Oh, you still like him? You still call him your brother? All right. Ray has been a private pilot for nearly 35 years. He has his commercial and instrument ratings. He is a first responder and currently works as a flight medic on a life flight helicopter. He is truly one of America's heroes and has saved countless lives. On Christmas Eve, December 23rd, his family lost everything, including their vehicles, in a tragic house fire. His daughter was the only one home at the time when the fire started, and luckily got out by jumping out of a second-story window. If there are any APG community members that would like to help, a GoFundMe account has been set up to assist them piece their lives back together. And then he gives us a link to the GoFundMe page, which we'll have in our show notes for those of you who are, wanting to help out this hero and his family. And thank you all so much for the great show. Keep the blue side up. And this is from Glenn Cadwallader. Cadwallader? Yeah. And so again, that there's a picture there, I think, of his brother Ray in front of the life flight helicopter, or some kind of a helicopter. I don't know if that's the life flight helicopter or maybe looks like almost a military helicopter there. In that picture.
It kind of looks Black Hawkish, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. So probably not the life flight helicopter, but anyway, it's never a good time of year to lose everything you have, but especially during the holidays here, it's especially
absolutely tragic event. I can't think of a worse time for it to happen. It's never a good time to have that sort of tragedy, but right when you're expecting a wonderful family holiday, that's terrible.
It is. Okay, so gang out there, let's show them what we have for our fellow APG community members and give generously to the GoFundMe account. Again, we'll put that. You know what we can do right now? I think I can go ahead and copy that and put it in the chat, see if that works for those who are here now with us while we record this live. Let's see if it'll allow me to do this. And it's thinking about it. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. There we go. It's on the screen and in the chat room. And we're going to continue on with catching up with me. Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, as we've mentioned, you all know, if you've been a listener to the show any period of time, I love singing at my church and in the shower. But this involves, Yeah, I did a lot of singing. Christmas, although not as much as last year. I think almost twice as many masses last year. But this year, sang all the Christmas Eve masses at my parish church. 4 of them, including the midnight mass, and then the next day came in about midday and sang at the 12:15, and it wasn't a burden at all because I love singing. And let's see, then I left on a trip on Monday, the 26th of December, which is my birthday, and went up to Newark and back, and then to Tulsa for our layover. And, you heard of this guy named Larry Gregory. He calls himself Geezer. He met me at the arrival gate. And now I talked to him before he met me at the airport because he wasn't able to break away and go to the McNally's pub for our little impromptu meetup in downtown Tulsa. And he had joked that he wasn't able to get the mayor to show up for my arrival, and I know that he was being that was tongue in cheek, but so yeah, maybe not. Maybe I think he probably does really know the mayor and his wife. Anyway, so I go out there, and as soon as I exit into the jetway area, not jetway area, but the terminal area, the gate desk or whatever you call it, called so many darn things. All of a sudden, I noticed that I say hello to Larry, and he's holding a little mini recorder, And all of a sudden, this happens, and I have not listened to this yet. Larry sent this audio file to me or us after we started the show today. So fingers crossed, and we'll see how this sounds. But I'm going to click the play button and see what happens.
It's his birthday today. He's been flying with Delta 25 plus years, and we just want to come on. Can you give it up for him? 34 years. And we just want to sing happy birthday to him real quickly. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Captain Jeff. Happy birthday to you. Come on, let's give it up for
It sounds like your choir was there.
Thank you, Cheryl. We also want to welcome you to Delta Flight 951 service to Atlanta. As you can see our airplane just
We're recording. I can fix it in post. Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Go ahead from our crew. We will begin our...
And actually, he recorded more, but he cut all that other stuff out. So like a good post-edit sound person does. Yeah, wasn't that awesome? Thank you very much, Larry.
That was great. Yeah,
for coordinating that. It was not something I was expecting at all. Of course, I never really know what to expect with Larry.
Of course, now you've entered your final year as an airline pilot, Jeff.
I have,
right?
yeah. Countdown is it's fewer than 365 days now. So
yeah, I know. Oh, golly.
Well, yes, I think it may be a lot fewer than that. I don't know, depending on how things progress during this year. So, yeah, the RV is scheduled to be delivered at some point this year, somewhere in the late spring to summertime, I'm hoping. And I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make it until November, December of next year, but we'll see. Okay, but if you're listening to the show, you'll find out all about how this progresses. And thank you very much, Larry, for making that happen. That was really special for me. I really do appreciate it. So we went to our layover hotel, the Hyatt Regency, and I'm not supposed to say that. Some hotel in downtown Tulsa, and got changed and got picked up by Sean King in his very nice pickup truck. And I offered my first officer to go with us as well, but I think he had put 2 trips back to back, and he was feeling kind of tired and we had an early sign-in time the next day in Tulsa, so he bowed out. And so Sean and I drove over just a few blocks away from the hotel to a place called McNally's Pub in downtown Tulsa, and we were met there by JJ Tulsa, JJ not Pittsburgh, aka Jordan Rayleigh, his real name, and Paul Shelton, who was at the first big meetup that we had in Tulsa a few years back. And so had a great dinner, great conversation, gave JJ Tulsa, all of us did, a bunch of great advice for his aviation career. And then Paul ended up picking up the tab for all of us. So thank you. That was a nice birthday gift, Paul, for doing that. And just had a great time. We didn't stay out too late. I got back to the hotel a little after 7 o'clock. And so I got a good night's sleep before the next day. So that was awesome. So thanks again, Sean, JJ, and Paul for meeting up with me downtown, and Larry at the airport. Yeah, it turns out that his granddaughter also has a December 26th birthday. So yeah, that's why he couldn't make it with us downtown. I'm thinking, no, I can you believe that I'm not as important or more important than his family? Yeah, that is a shock. All right. Well, the next of the trip, we went to Atlanta and then ended up deadheading to Jacksonville, North Carolina, and which is in Kakalaki, yep, and not far from Camp Lejeune, Marine Corps base. I think they do a lot of training at that base, if I'm not mistaken. Oh no, it's not asbestos, Liz. It's the drinking water is yeah, a big class act. I mean, that's all you see on TV is all these commercials for people that were at Camp Lejeune between 1950 something and 1970 something. I think, I don't know. Anyway, so there, got back yesterday from my trip, and then no, you did not make me do the show, Liz. I was yesterday. We had kind of talked about whether or not we were going to record a show this week, and we kind of left it up in the air. And yesterday, it was like I don't know that these are again early mornings. I'm getting to be an old man. I'm 64 years old now, and they kind of take their toll on me. And I was just not feeling. I didn't have a lot of energy. Had not done any preparation whatsoever for the show that we're recording today. And I think we should. So no, Liz, it was not due to you that we're doing the show. I'm glad that you encouraged me to do this, and I thank Captain Nick and Nick Camacho and Liz that they were volunteering their time to help me do this thing today. So going back out tomorrow morning to do a little what we call a turn or a out and back trip from Atlanta to Asheville, North Carolina. It is a short flight. It's like maybe around a half an hour actual flying time, I believe. What? I'm not looking at. Yeah, it is. It's fun. I like these short legs, these short flights. And my next scheduled trip is a week from today, Thursday, the 5th of January, to a 3-leg and then a leg back on the second day. And I believe it's a Harrisburg, Pennsylvania layover. But I do plan on picking up some extra flying between the flights tomorrow and the next scheduled trip, because it's just that time of year that sometimes they need pilots out there to fly you passengers around. Yeah, so I'm expecting that I'll be doing at least one trip in between the trip tomorrow and the trip on Thursday. Okay. Yeah, Nick, what have you been up to?
You caught me out there, didn't you? I was busy on the internet and checking my diary. And, yeah, and I'd muted. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem.
Not a lot. Christmas has been a quiet family affair. My 2 sons came and joined us. And we, of course, ate to excess and drank to excess. So now my liver's on the verge of packing up. But keep on going, old girl. You'll be fine. Yeah. Not much really to report. We had a nice family outing. We went to the cinema. We normally go and see something like a Star Wars movie, but there wasn't anything out this year. So this year it was the new Avatar movie, which we went to the local IMAX and saw it there. And what a visual extravaganza it was. I can't say much for the storyline, but the 3.5 hours just flew by. It was quite an impactful movie when it came to, how they managed to create these computer graphics so beautifully. I was very impressed with that side of it. We had plenty to say on the negative side on the way home, but I didn't regret going and seeing it. It was very good.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but was that the 3D version that you got to see?
Yeah, we did. And it was good. They didn't overdo the 3D effects, which is great. There wasn't, great things leaping out of the screen at you. They're a little bit like that, but it was a bit more subtle and just added to the storyline. It was very good. Mm-hmm. So that was nice. And, I'm still planning through the Christmas pudding. I'm the only one that eats it in our family. It's a great traditional, sort of plum, basically dried fruit pudding.
A figgy pudding.
Have here. You don't have it in the States, do you? Christmas pudding?
No, but I remember that one of the songs talks about figgy pudding. Is that?
Yeah, I'm sure there are figs probably in it, or you can put figs in it. But yeah, and you eat it with brandy butter, and well, some people do anyway, and lots of cream.
Sounds good. Now you're making my stomach
it is great,
growl.
very filling. Yeah. So all that was lovely, thoroughly good. And I often talk about my bowling successes. Well, pitched up to the bowling club yesterday and promptly got knocked out of the triples knockout competition we were in. We had been doing quite well, but we faced a team of really good bowlers who bested us, which was a bit of a shame. So there you go. I don't have to worry about that competition anymore. Other than that, no, it's fine. My firstborn is sticking around with us for another few days before he heads up back to London, and the other one has already disappeared to go and party with all his death metal friends. So that just leaves us and our new dog. So she's turning out to be a wonderful member of the family. Is a young Zeta, very successful. She's acclimatized very nicely to the Anderson way of life. So apart from, we just got to tidy up a few of her recall habits, which aren't particularly good at the moment. She go out for a walk. We're on a big piece of land, which is great. You know, the army do training on it. It's quite large. And she'll disappear for like 10 minutes at a time, which gets me a bit worried. Because I would like her to stay a little closer. So we'll see if we can sort that. She does recall eventually, but it's not exactly as good as some of my past pets have. Anyway, by the by, I got a new toy for Christmas, as those who are Patreons will know, because I used it to record a little Patreon video, and this is a DJI camera that is mounted on a gimbal, handheld camera, 4K, very nice quality, and produces quite reasonable sound. I thought, Jeff, it wasn't too bad, just off the machine. It wasn't a separate mic or anything. It was quite usable. So pleased with that. I shall have fun trying to get to grips with the automation because it's not exactly intuitive. Let me say. Other than that, no real change from me. Looking forward to a small party with friends over New Year. And then the new year will be on us, and we'll see how we cope with that.
Absolutely. What about the cover art from our last show? I love this. The episode 449, and those of you in the chat room will recognize so many of the elements of this art based on the show, or many of you, well, all of you out there listening to the show. But the last show was entitled "The Wind of Enchantment." It was quite a team effort to come up with that title.
It was.
Once we did, we went, "Oh yes, that's it."
Yeah, I thought we'd nailed it when we got the final wording. I was asked to pick up some elements of the last show, which included an airship that had been flying over New Mexico, and somebody suggested it was in a Monty Python theme. I don't know quite how that came about, but anyway, we've ended up with an airship with the flag or the symbol of New Mexico emblazoned on the side. It's been attacked by an archer, so it's got a bit of a leak, so it's at a funny angle. The motto of New Mexico, as Jeff worked out, is the land of enchantment. And since one of the Monty Python themes is some trumpets played from the wrong end of the alimentary canal, we called it the Wind of Enchantment, which I thought was pretty good, considering we're talking about an airship as well. So if you like a bit of Monty Python, go take a look at that artwork. Hopefully you'll appreciate that. Yes. Oh, the show number is there, so you might have to look up towards the bottom playing trumpets along the scroll that they're standing on.
The what?
You can
Excuse
find
me?
it there.
The
what,
scroll. Sorry? Okay, I thought
the scroll.
You were
yes,
saying something else. Scrotum. The scrotum. Yes. Okay.
Very good. Very good.
iHallboxes says, very useful for capture. Oh, the new camera, very useful for capturing that extreme ironing footage. Nick.
Oh yes, that's yes.
It's been a while since we've seen an installment of the extreme ironing. both from you and Rick.
Well, yeah, I know. I was waiting for Rick's next adventure before I tried again, because I think he's a bit behind me now, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
Yeah.
Not unlike those trumpets in the artwork.
Yeah. God, I love Monty Python.
What's that? Click. Oh, yeah. There we go. Here's Miami Rick. Just a reminder, practicing for the extreme. Of course, this is pretty pedestrian. This is his uniform. It's not too extreme at all. So, Rick, can you hear us? No, we can't. Yeah, but we can't hear you. You're muted. I guess he's just gonna. Oh no, he doesn't understand. He's muted. Oh well, he's just going to continue his ironing apparently. Yeah. Do I even need to chat about it? Okay. Nah, Coffee Fund is your way to support the show financially. So if you're so inclined, head over to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. Yeah, instead of, that's a good idea, Liz. She said maybe they can consider the GoFundMe campaign for Ray and his family instead of
oh, that's a nice idea.
The Coffee Fund. So
yeah.
There we go. Absolutely. Okay. We're going to go to feedback shortly, but first, we are going to take a physiological break.
Oh, thank you. That's very good. See you in a minute.
All right. Okay. Oh, what am I going to do if I'm the only one here? Well, Liz is here too. Yeah, I started to do that. Oh, you know what? Let me do this, and I'll warn. Okay, I'm going to turn this on, and so now everybody can hear what you're saying to me. So, what was the question?
I was wondering if Jeff could load his flights up onto the community calendar, which is available on airlinepilotguy.com. so that people can know where he's going to be and maybe have a meetup or two or
yeah,
whatever.
I've neglected doing that, and I started to do it before the show today, and I'm thinking I don't need to be spending time on that.
No,
I
what
need
is
to be
no priority then?
prepping for the show. So
Good
I'll do
call.
that soon.
Okay.
I'll update the calendars, and 3 of the I think 5 trips that I have next month are with my favorite first officer, Brent.
Yeehaw.
And so I look forward to that. One of
Now,
which
do
is
you have any special
a
singing
4-day.
this weekend for New Year's? Do you have any special services or anything?
Well, I am going to be there to sing for the Vigil Mass on New Year's Eve.
Saturday.
And, Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly. I may sing at least 1, maybe 2 masses on Saturday, and then probably at least a couple on Sunday. Although our flight director, our choir director, Jane, will be out of town.
You just need a lot
with
of
her
direction.
family. I do need a lot of direction. Yeah. She will be out of town, so I think that the music situation is going to be a little bit different over the weekend. But I'm sure I'll be singing.
You'll be exercising those pipes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Time for you guys. So this is going to be a short segment, everybody.
Yep.
Oh, talking about singing. Oh, okay. That was the Happy Birthday, Jeff. Yeah. I thought that was the St. Benedict School one.
Nope.
Sorry. Disregard everything I just said.
Okay. Disregarded. Yeah, that was Larry
Well
Geezer's
done.
recording. Okay. So Liz, now your audio is not being piped in any longer, and we're going to go over here to the feedback bumper and continue.
Captain, incoming message.
All right, our first piece of feedback is from Gail. She says, "Hi, APG crew. My local news station posted this story, and I thought the listeners might enjoy it." And this is from, obviously, Gail is in Chicago area, NBCChicago.com. And the title of the news piece is "A 73-year-old man pays $370 per month to live in a plane that he bought for $100,000 from a salvage yard." And he says, "I have no regrets." Campbell is his name, Bruce Campbell. His jetliner is parked on a 10-acre property he bought in the early 70s. Now, I think we have talked about this guy and his airplane in the past. It's been a few years, I think. In the early 70s, or somebody just like him, an old guy with a 727. I think it is the same guy, though. In the early 70s, Bruce Campbell paid $25,800 for 10 acres of land in Hillsboro, a suburb of Portland, Oregon. That's where my cousin lives, cousin Craig, in Hillsboro, Portland, Oregon. Wow, that's in the 70s. Wow, that's only what, $2,580 per acre? Pretty cheap. The electrical engineer, who's now 73 years old, tells CNBC, "Make it the dream began when he saw an airplane boneyard on TV when he was 15 years old. He decided he wanted to live in one. In 1999, he decided he would follow through, but had no idea how to go about it."
Oh,
So
he's a radioamateur. He's a ham.
Oh, there.
I
That
saw
explains
that
a lot.
mast outside, and I thought, oh, that looks vaguely familiar.
Uh-huh.
There you see between the two trees, he's got a nice looking mast going up there.
Oh, yeah. Nice looking mast.
Yeah.
But
he's got a rotator and a big beam on top.
Well, don't we all? And let's see, or we think we do, apparently. He had no idea how to go about it, so he hired a salvage company to find him a plane. Here's a quote from him. "That was a whopper class mistake. I'll never do that again. Salvage companies are wreckers," he said. "I highly recommend just buying a jetliner completely intact and completely functional, except maybe the removal of the engines." Yeah, as you do. After months of searching, the company found Campbell a Boeing 727-200, the model that I used to fly quite a bit, a jetliner that was 1,066 square feet and weighed around 70,000 pounds. It was found in Greece and is part of American history, sort of. The plane was used to transport the remains of the airline's owner, Aristotle Onassis, in 1975. The late Greek-Argentinian shipping magnate was married to former First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis at the time of his death. Campbell paid $100,000 for it, and the plane was flown from Greece to Oregon to prepare it for him to take ownership. Once the aircraft was ready, it was towed to Campbell's land through the streets of downtown Hillsboro. Wow. That process included removing the engines and other elements that make it so the plane can never fly again. It cost a total of $120,000. When you live in a structure like this, you feel a little more fulfilled with your life, he said. And if you're an engineer, a scientist, or anyone who appreciates the elegance and beauty of aerospace technology, it's just a happier place to live. Campbell's plane was originally owned by the late... Oh, we already talked about that. Let's see. He added a makeshift shower, a temporary sink, a portable washing machine, a refrigerator, and a food service cart from another plane that serves as his pantry. In place of a stove, Campbell has a microwave and a toaster oven, which he barely uses. He says, "I'm a nerd. I don't cook, so it's a minimal kitchen area." Next to the kitchen area, Campbell has his futon sofa, which doubles as his sleeping area, and his workbench. His monthly expenses are $370 a month, which includes $220 a month in property taxes and between $100 to $250 a month in electricity. Spends most of his time working on restoring old computer systems and giving people a tour of his airplane home. Now he spends most of his time restoring old computer systems, fixing different electrical systems on the plane, and letting people come over and tour his aircraft. "I have no regrets about pursuing this vision. In my experience with my guests, I believe that humanity will embrace this vision wholeheartedly in enough proportion that we can utilize every jetliner which retires from service," he says. because he mostly splits his time between the U.S. and Japan. His hope is to one day have a plane home over there too. It's intended to put a home which I love in a land I love and with people I love, he says. If I can simply regain my youth, everything will be fine. Yeah, that's a big request.
I mean, he's got that, it's quite a big fuselage. He's got a lot of space. I'm not sure why he's only got a temporary sink and a makeshift shower and a portable washing machine, and he doesn't really have much to cook his food. You think he would actually be able to do it up a bit better and make it a bit more homely, but oh well, each to his own.
Yeah, what did he say? He calls himself a nerd. Yeah.
Well, nothing wrong with that.
And I guess he just doesn't care.
Jingles doesn't care
either. Yeah. Yes.
Oh well, you know.
Oh, hang on. Liz is telling me the control room is calling in saying an update from Tim Van Ram. Seems the FMS in the rental car had a hiccup with the clock. We're still driving. Now that the clock has been set properly, we have 1 more hour to go. Ah, okay.
That's a long old drive, Tim. You must have been very disappointed to discover you had an hour's error.
Well, I'm just happy that we were there to be along for the ride with Tim.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, we don't want to. If it were just me, it could have been a dangerous situation where he could have fallen asleep and driven off the road. But since I'm here with Captain Nick and Nick Camacho, he stays
Yeah,
awake.
we'll keep pinching you, Tim.
Yep. Okay.
Wake up, Tim.
Oh, speaking of Tim. Oh, wait, hang on. Oh, speaking of my birthday. Okay, let me get to the next item. Well, sorry. You know, it only comes around once a year, Liz. No, I don't. Okay, we got something. Oh, and it kind of ties. Oh, sorry. So the cool thing about this feedback is that it ties in not only my birthday. Thank you very much, Liz, but also the news item at the beginning of our show regarding the South. Well, here, we'll let Vernon tell us all about it.
Greetings, Captain Jeff, and happy birthday. 1 more year to retirement, according to my calculations. This is Vernon from Fort Morgan, Colorado, although I'm not in Fort Morgan, Colorado. We are celebrating your birthday at Old Town San Diego Mexican food restaurant because of the Southwest Airlines debacle. Our flight was originally scheduled for last night, that's Christmas night, and we should have been home by now. However, we're still stuck in San Diego, and it'll be another day or two before we can hopefully get a flight. It was interesting to see when we came over the hill this afternoon and looked down at San Diego International Airport, there were at least 24 Southwest 737s parked at terminals and across the runway. And I don't envy the guys in scheduling who tried to figure out how to get crews to those planes before they timed out. Anyway, that's my little bit of the story of being stuck in San Diego. It's not a bad place compared to the rest of the country because we're sitting outside waiting for our food. Anyway, wanted to wish you a happy birthday, and the background music gives it away. I suspect you can hear it. That we're at a Mexican food restaurant. And the last time you said something about my input, you missed the background music. So here it is, compliments of this restaurant. And I'll be interested to see how this whole story pans out with the Southwest Airlines debacle. It seems like United American, Frontier, some of the other ones that are in and out of here, even Lufthansa and British Airways, are generally on time, but you look at the boards and the Southwests are just all canceled. Anyway, we're in the middle of that, and just going to do the best of it to enjoy San Diego for another day or two. Blessings to you, happy birthday, and talk to you next year. Bye now.
What did you say? We're here celebrating because of our...
Wait a minute. Let me figure out how to get this thing shut off.
He figured it out. Yay. Thank you, Vernon, for the birthday wishes. And now I just want to say, if
I
you
need
had flown
to find
Acme,
that. Sorry.
you know, you wouldn't be there. But I don't know. Maybe it sounds like a really nice place to be stuck. Go ahead, Nick.
I need to add Vernon's closing remarks onto every one of my audio pieces from now on.
Yes.
Hey, how do you turn this damn thing off?
How do I turn this darn thing off? And I could just barely hear the music. I did hear some bass from the Mexican music, but it mostly was the ambiance of the live chatting of the.
It sounded like a place where everyone was having a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. It really sounded nice. And yeah, I can think, as he said, I can think of a lot worse places to be stuck than San Diego, California. So. Very good. Thank you very much for your birthday wishes, Vernon. Very, very nice. And finally, this just came in today. It's very interesting. This is from Giovanni. He says, "Hi, Jeff. Hi, Liz and APG crew. My name is Giovanni, and I am a super fan of the APG podcast, even if I'm not a pilot. I think probably at least half or most, maybe probably more than half of the audience is not a pilot. And as Liz just said, pilot license not required. Today I've read about this incident here in Italy. Below, some links in Italian. I hope Google Translate will do its job. The incident has no major injuries. It's quite impressive because the emergency landing was performed close to the top of an Alps peak."
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, so look at this. And you know what? I actually have some video to play. And so let me add that to the stream and hit play. Oh, it's already playing. And then I think there is some... There we go. Oh. There's that. The helicopter, the rescue helicopter flying along the peaks of those out. Beautiful, huh? Now look at that. You can see the airplane in the middle of that.
He nearly made the little...
The peak.
Yeah, it was flying through a saddle by the looks of it. Mm-hmm. Didn't quite make it through.
No, but I'm glad they didn't overshoot. I guess the quite steep incline that they put it down upon as they were heading up the mountain. If they had gone too far, I guess they would have been going back down, which would probably not have been a good experience.
Great forced landing, really. You know, I don't suppose they're going to be able to fly it again, but at least they didn't have to start eating each other. Like, remember that
right.
Argentinian football team?
Yeah. In the what was that mountain chain there? The Andes.
Yeah. I don't even know if they were Argentinian. I'm trying to remember. I did a play.
No, I think you're right. The Argentinian soccer team, I think. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I don't know. I'm wondering if it looks like the landing gear is down. So El Spolato would say, "Hey, there's some more evidence." But, well, of course, that's not really. It's a ditching, but not in water. Yeah, never mind. Forget it.
Well, I don't know. What do you classify snow as if it's not made of water?
Good point. So here's a little image of the mountain system, and I guess that where they put that down was like one of the highest peaks in the Alps. Beautiful place. I would imagine it was probably a little chilly before they were rescued.
No, it was in Italy, not Chile.
Good point. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is there anything else?
Beautiful spot, actually, isn't it? I mean, the weather then looks gorgeous, but
it's a Piper PA-28 Archer 2. The owner operator of the Aero Club of Belluno, and the registration on it, Papa India Delta Romeo, and there were 3 occupants, no fatalities. I think the only injury was some minor facial trauma to one of the passengers, and the other 2 were just fine.
Was that when his wife gave him a slapping?
Probably so. Actually, I think one of the articles I was reading and had translated by Google talked about, I think there were 3 young people in their 20s. Well, I guess they could still be married and still be slapped. but it didn't go into that much detail. Yeah. So thank you very much,
Tourist
Giovanni.
plane, it says.
Tourist plane. Yeah, it's a little. I guess not. GA is not as common over there in that
a
part of the world.
22-year-old Sylvia Dibon, her brother Mattia, and girlfriend Georgia.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I just had to scroll down a little bit further.
Engine failure, perhaps due to engine failure.
Yeah,
we'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
Trento to Belluno.
Perhaps they should have taken a Belluno. It might have been safer.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, right. They might have cleared it.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Mohammed is in our chat.
Oh, hi there, Mohammed.
Welcome, sir. In Iraq. Thank you for joining us. Yeah. Yeah, it must be very late over there. But we hope you are doing well. Anyway, let's not get distracted here. Let me get back to... Yeah, it's time to wrap it up. And...
I've just got something to add.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Previously on a show, we were talking about the new proposed supersonic airliner,
Boom Aerospace.
Boom, shake the room. And I was questioning because the engines apparently were going to be dry power only. They weren't reheated, weren't going to have afterburner. And I was going, I wonder how they're going to cope with getting over Mach 1. And I'm sure they'll be all right doing a super cruise once they are supersonic, but I was curious about that. And I was wondering if an aircraft had been built that could go well into or could get over the Mach boundary in dry power only. And Grant has provided me from Australia, you know, our friend Grant, who is an erstwhile balloonist but knows a lot about aviation in all its aspects.
Irony.
And has links to a lot of military aviation in Australia and military companies. And I think some of his work is probably a little bit secret squirrel. Anyway, he's saying, yeah, the F-22 can indeed accelerate in dry power only to get beyond Mach 1 and then do a super cruise in the mid to high Mach 1 to Mach 2 range. And in fact, he showed me a graph of an overlay of the dry power of the F-22 Raptor against an F-15 in afterburner. And the F-22's power available almost entirely overcomes that of the F-15 in reheat, apart from a little bit at very, very high level. Where the F-15 does get a slight advantage, but that airplane is quite remarkable in dry power. Has a very, very powerful engine that doesn't really need reheat in a lot of aspects of its operations. So I'm learning all the time, and I went, wow, that's very impressive. So I've stowed that one away now. Obviously, with the engine manufacturers have overcome the thrust requirements now to that in my regime of flight, or in my time of flight, we would have needed reheat to do that. That now they can do it in dry power only. So
amazing.
The magnificence of airplane design marches on. I'm continually amazed.
Regarding the F-15 and the F-22, our good friend, the good-looking Captain Jeff, Colonel Jeff. Flew the F-15, many different models of it. And I asked him at one point what he thought of that F-22. And he said, they had some, what do you call it, maneuvers, one-on-ones. What do you call that now that he's taking a swig of his beer?
1v1 combat?
1v1 combat, whatever. He said that, he said those things would shoot us down before we could even know they were there. He said, it just wasn't fair. He said, that airplane is so amazing. He said, it just wasn't fair.
Yeah. So it is the Raptor is a fantastic airplane, no doubt about it. Oh, if only I was 50 years younger.
Oh, Neil has a question. How easy is it to take a military engine and use it on a civilian airliner? Well, you have to get past security, all the military police. That's the hard part.
Yeah. Most big military aircraft have basically got civilian airliner engines on them. Fighters don't have room for a big fan, and they want more pure jet thrust rather than fuel economy. So they stick more to the core of a civilian airliner jet engine is expanded, and that's what a military jet engine usually is. It doesn't include that huge fan on the front. They're just two different designs for two different jobs. Fuel consumption is priority if you're an airline pilot, and thrust to weight not so important in jet aircraft. Fighter aircraft, you're really looking for fantastic thrust to weight performance, and you're not really too worried about fuel economy when you're in a combat situation. So yeah.
All right, there you go. Thank you for the question. And now let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. And we're going to point you to the website, airlinepilotguy.com.
Oh, great.
Lots of good stuff there. And, it's very important now to, no, we don't need their feedback, Liz. We'll just talk more news and make it a shorter show. Feedback at airlinepilotguy.com if you're so inclined. And if you want to include some audio feedback like many of you do, or video even. Yeah, it's been a while since we've had somebody send us some video feedback. You can attach it to the feedback at airlinepilotguy.com, or an alternative means of getting us the video file, because they tend to be a little bit bigger than the audio files. But yeah, WeTransfer works well. Anyway, there you go. And we also are on social media, or what I like to call the social meds. And now, Captain Nick, if you'll do the honors.
Yeah, Steph, Liz, and I are often poking around the social meds. So if you're a facey, booky person, or as I believe it is now called Meta, look around for Airline Pilot Guy. It's all one word. And if you're a Twitterer, that's owned by Elon now, isn't it? Elon owns. But is he still the CEO, or did he volunteer to step down?
I think so.
Yeah, at APG
he's trying
Crew
to find somebody
anyway.
to take it over. Yeah,
is our handle on Twitter and Instagram. Very similar, APG Crew on the Instas.
Mm-hmm. Very good, and we're also on Slack, and we have Hillel to tell us all about that if he's here. So let me see if I can.
Is he taking the week off?
No, he's here. Wait, hang on. Hillel, can you talk about Slack?
Okay, but I'm dripping wet.
That's okay. Yeah, do you like the new apartment? No, he's kind of speechless about that. But I do know that he's using a lot of water and electricity here, so I need to talk to him about that. Anyway, come over here and sit down and tell us about Slack.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas. We suggest episode and Plain Tales topics. We plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo at airlinepilotguy.com, or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thank you very much, Hillel, for that. And
mind if I use your razor, Jeff?
Yes, I do mind. Yeah. Anyway,
he's not going to shave his legs again, is he?
I'm not going to ask. It's his deal. Whatever he enjoys, I'm good with it. All right. And with that, we're going to do the final wrap up by telling you thank you for staying with us and providing feedback for us and contributing to the show financially and all of that. And also a big thank you to you, Liz, for all the hard work that you do. every week and encouraging us and inspiring us.
Thank you, Liz.
Everything else. So you're awesome. We do appreciate that.
Thank you, Jimmy, for a nice comment in the chat room.
Jimmy Sancho says, while sitting here on reserve, I have enjoyed watching the show. What a memorable year this has been. You've made it much more so. Happy New Year, APG team. Well, thank you, Jimmy. Very nice of you to say so. We do appreciate it. And you're muted, Liz. I can't hear you for some reason. I don't know.
Sorry, my phone was ringing, so I turned my thing down. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we hear you. So
Anyway.
Thank you, Liz, for everything.
You're welcome. Thanks, you guys. Love the show.
All right. We love it too. Actually, you can tell we love doing this show.
Yeah.
And we love the fact that there are people out there that are willing to listen to it and put up with us. So thank you so much. And with that, we're going to wish you clear skies, unlimited visibility, tailwinds, and a happy new year. Take care and God bless.
All the best, everybody. Happy New Year.
Feliz Navidad.
Feliz Navidad.
Oh, well, that's Merry Christmas, isn't it? What is
Yeah.
it? Prospero Año. Prospero Año. I don't know. I don't speak Spanish, obviously.
Prospero anally.
I did
Well,
not say that.
we're still broadcasting.
I'm sorry.
Now,
I didn't say anything rude, did I? I was in a foreign language.
before we sign off,
All the best, Mohammed.
one last report in here from Tim Van Ram before we leave.
Oh, Pam, Tim's lovely wife, has taken over the driving. Thus, I'm now able to give those riveting updates on our epic drive from Texas to San Francisco. How about giving Pam an APG shout out? Yay! Hey, Pam!
Yay! Well done, Pam. Congratulations.
Oh, wait,
Good
we
luck.
need to, in so many ways, we applaud your heroic effort to be married to Mr. Tim Van Ram.
I know.
So thank you very
golly,
much.
yes.
It must be a tough
Just
thing.
adopting that surname must have been a trial.
Feliz Año Nuevo is what I should have been saying there. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. That's easy for you to say.
Okay, before everybody takes off, title suggestions here. Now, I've got
I was just going to go with a Happy New Year theme.
Okay, that's fine. Go
But
for it.
Perfect.
we could, if anyone's got any brilliant suggestions.
No,
yes.
mine are not brilliant.
Are you kidding me? Look at the people in the chat room. Are you?
Mine are definitely not
No,
brilliant. We love you, but we insult you.
Well,
that's
we love
that's
you,
our
Jeff
way of
doesn't.
showing you love by insulting you. I mean, that's what people tell me all the time when they're insulting me. I'm assuming they
Good
mean
point.
it.
Yeah, Caught in a Jiffy was one of mine too, IHOL boxes. But
Caught in a Jiffy.
I also had scrapes and slides for the wing scrape and the slide deployment. Scrapes and slides.
Scrapes and slides.
And then this one's a little obscure. It was yee-yaw, not yee-haw. You know how Nick was talking about the yawing? Yawing.
Ah, right. The secondary effect of yee-hawing. What's that then?
I don't know.
I don't know. Oh, yeah. And then my last suggestion was nice looking mast.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Nice looking mast.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
No, that's
Anyway.
what he said. No, I don't know.
No, I'm gonna stick with this.
Good. Yeah.
Doing a New
They
Year
were
theme
brilliant.
is
I
going
knew
to be
they were
very
brilliant.
easy.
Yeah, just move your head out of the way. We'll take a screenshot
Yeah.
of what you
There
have
you go.
behind you, and then there you go.
Perfect.
There's the there's the
Happy New.
Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks for
Something New
joining
Year.
us.
Yes.
All the best,
Thank you,
everybody.
everybody. Yeah, really be safe out there, but have a great time with friends and family over the New Year.
See you next
Absolutely.
year.
Get drunk,
Bye.
crash your cars. Bye.